I am sorry. I had a legit reason this time. I had to review the video that goes up tomorrow. I have to review the video that goes up tomorrow. I feel like that's an okayish reason. Alright, everybody. This is a fun topic. This is a fun topic, I think. I think it's a fun topic. Because it's one I wanted to do for a bit. Jack says, I'm so sick of this tier bullshit. Tier lists are fun. I don't care what anybody else says. Tier lists are fun. Cause like it's a nice way to rank things without having to get to in the weeds with ranking things. Because a tier is a broad category, right? You don't have to be too strict every hard line here or there, you know? Yusuf says, Lord's gonna disrespect Naruto this stream, calling it. Hey, look, Chakra is better than Haki, alright? Anybody who thinks I'm coming in to do this stream to disrespect other series, I'm gonna tell you right now, whatever the lowest tier is, that's where One Piece is going. Unless Oda does some crazy stuff to revamp our understanding of Haki over the course of this final saga, to make everything suddenly click and mesh perfectly, like, you can't get on my case for disrespecting other series here, because I'm gonna do the courtesy. One Piece is great at many other things. It is the best shonen manga in many categories, best manga in many categories for sure. Its power system is not one of them. And I say that as somebody who has made several videos in the past trying to defend, trying to break down Haki, misconceptions and such, gone through the entire series, pulled out panels, examples of things that are, like people say, are contradictions, that aren't actually contradictions, etc. And I think at some point over the course of Egghead Island, between the Kobe honesty impact thing and Luffy and Zoro versus the Seraphim, and are they using it or not, and then Zoro's Hellfire Flame or not against Lucci, somewhere in the last 20 chapters, I just said forget it. Forget it. There's no point. There's no point. Why defend this? What's the point? What's the point? I straight up put like a poll during the Zoro Hellfire Flame scenario with Lucci being like, is Zoro using Advanced Conqueror's Haki or not? It was during one of these streams. And it was split straight down the middle. It was like a 50-50 thing. No, sorry, it was like 30% yes, 30% no, and then 40% we don't know. I'm not defending Haki anymore. There's no defense for it. It's just like, how do you... Is Zoro using the most important power-up that he's had in the entire story right now? Is he using that at this moment in time or not? Yes, confident. No, confident. We don't know. Overwhelming majority. Not overwhelming majority, but largest of the three categories. If it was a democracy, we don't know would be the winner, right? So, like, it's just not a thing in any other story where it's like, okay, is Naruto using Sage Mode right now? Oh, we don't know. Is Gojo using Domain Expansion right now? Oh, we don't fucking know. Is Goku using Super Saiyan 50 right now? Oh, we don't know. No, you always fucking know. It's only in One Piece where it's just like, we don't know, can consistently win polls. I guarantee there's several, if I did it for Kobe's Honesty Impact right when it came out, we don't know, would win several, like, it would win several polls if I was like, what's he using right now? Armament Haki, Advanced Armament Haki, Advanced Conqueror's Haki, what's he doing? Ryo level 1, Ryo level 2? We don't know would probably be the final winner. I'm not defending Chakra either, but at the very least, there's almost no point in Naruto where I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck they're using. You know what I mean? Breezy2X says, the mix of Devil Fruits and Haki is one of the best power systems. I think it's one of the best thematically, and it's one of the best in terms of, like, it's one of the best in terms of just concept and ideas, and I like the contrast between what both represent. But in terms of just having a consistent power system, it's kind of pointless. Minhu Huang says, Morj plush in the back looking shell-shocked. I think that's just the way he's tilted right now. Actually, no, he always has that expression. Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Let's get the stream likes up. I gotta find a good tier list first. We don't... Yeah. I don't really know what the full scope of things I'm gonna include in is. Like, are we including Avatar? I'll just find whatever I can find and see what we do. Yeah, then you got stands, which are, I would argue, also not very well explained either, in many aspects. Because sometimes he'll be like, here's some rules, and then 2 JoJo's series later, he's like, I forgot those rules. Stardust Crusader is a classic example. Like, we're told certain things about stands in Stardust Crusaders that never turn out to be canon in future arcs, basically. But that doesn't mean that stands are a bad power system, because it's kind of what you get out of it. Hockey is different in the sense, like, with stands it kind of got to a point where it's like, okay, the rules don't really matter. Each stand has its own individual rules, and we just roll with that, right? So that ends up making for some really, really great fights. With One Piece, it's like, any series that's trying to implement a clear power system, it has to basically, like, if you're trying to do it, you have to kind of do it right, you know? Stands are kind of like what Devil Fruits were, if you think about it. Stands are very similar to what Devil Fruits were, in that you don't have you have the categories of Devil Fruits and such, but very early on in the story, we didn't know too much about the categories of Devil Fruits. All we knew was basically, a guy shows up with some bizarre ability, he explains it to us, I'm a doorman, and I can open up doors and walls and floors and ceilings and stuff, but not just that, I can open up doors in people, I can turn your face into a door, I can open up doors to travel to a different dimension, and come back to this dimension. It's just a wacky, zany, random ability, and we deal with it, and it's part of the fight, and that's cool. It's kind of like what stands were initially. Everyone's just got their own thing. What are the rules of each thing? They're all different. Michael Kerr, thanks for the 5. First comment, Devil Fruits are one of the best, hockey is one of the worst. There's a spider on me, hold up. Hockey in theory hockey's my favorite concept, for the record. Let me defend hockey a little bit, because I've talked about hockey in past videos. I don't want people to come at me for saying things about One Piece for hockey, because I've done videos in the past defending One Piece in terms of hockey. The most recent one I did was why Advanced Conquerors Hockey is so confusing. I think that one's fair. But in the past, I've done, like, what everyone gets wrong about hockey. I've talked about, like, misconceptions and such. I've done a video talking about Luffy's, like, I did a video addressing people's critiques at one point. Like, is hockey a bad power system, ? And I addressed a lot of the critiques that people commonly had and tried to offer my rebuttals. This was 3 years ago. But I'm at a point where it's just, like, it's hard to say that much good about hockey at this point, outside of, I love the concept, because it fits the theme of the story so well. Right, hockey is your spirit, right? One Piece, a story about spirit, drive, ambition. The fact that one's spirit, drive, and ambition can literally become the weapon that you fight with, right? The strength of your spirit correlates directly, as you train it, to the strength of you, to your own ability. I think that is a great idea. I think it fits the story really, really well. I don't know if Oda needed to add so many additional rules to it at the end of the day. Strahd Chaco, thanks for being a member for 14 months. Power system / scale in Cory in the House is goated. True. You know what? They had like this wasn't Cory in the House. I think this was That's So Raven. I think I remember an episode where like there was like a lot of ping pong power scaling going on. Because like Cory and Raven's dad was like the ping pong state champion or something like that. And he just had a belt for it or like a trophy. And then that annoying tiny kid showed up. You guys know the one if you've seen Cory in the House or That's So Raven at all. He showed up, and then he beats Cory's dad. He beats everybody in the house, and then Raven's random, like, perpetually high friend Chelsea shows up, and she just beats the kid. And I was like, the power scaling makes no sense. So was she just, like, better than the state champion at ping pong by, like, a long shot all this time? Why? Why is she just better? But that's just... There was a whole episode where a lot of the power scaling mattered when it came to ping pong. So you're right. And it was an engaging episode from what I remember. I was like, who's gonna beat this kid? Why is this kid so good? I don't understand. Cloaksies, thanks for the 5. Even with Devil Fruits, it's basically everyone gets a random power, which we've seen in 1000 series pre and post One Piece, from X-Men to My Hero Academia. Hockey plus Devil Fruit is C tier at best. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I like Devil Fruits just because I thought that a lot of them are funny and a lot of them are wacky. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know. We'll get to the list in a second. Justin Holland, thanks for the 5. Dragon, Garp, and Luffy with Ace and Sabo all have roles to play, for better or worse, in the coming war and revolution. Love duality of Devil Fruits and Hockey. I like the duality as a concept, and there's a video I've been wanting to do for a while about thematically why it's so good. But I wish how they... I don't think I have any issues with Devil... I mean, I think Awakening maybe we could get a little bit more context on, but for the moment, it's fine. It's whatever. I wish we could understand a little bit more. Not a little bit more. I wish we could fucking understand. Like, I wish just the rules for hockey were... We know the rules for hockey. I'm sorry. We know the rules for hockey, but the distinguishers, right? The distinguishers, understanding when they're being used, maybe a bit more clarification why this is not used at some point, or this is, or this isn't, etc. Like, people to this day are like, in the upcoming Final Saga, just because it's not Garp's era anymore. Kind of like, I don't expect Rayleigh to play the biggest role. I wouldn't be surprised if Garp has played one of the bigger roles that he had already, which was the Hachinosu raid. Freeing Kobe, freeing the future of the Marines, yada yada. Sabo will definitely have a huge role to play. Stanley Barton, thanks a lot. Morj, why do Yamato and Katakuri have Conqueror's Haki? I think they fit. I mean, Katakuri is just one of the most strong-willed, like, stoic, unbreakable spirits that we've ever seen in the entire story. He did take siestas very often, but throughout his battle history and such, he never even let his back touch the ground. Like, that's a very... Conqueror's Haki users are written with a sort of larger than life will, and I use that phrase a lot, like larger than life, but that is what One Piece characters are kind of written like these very grandiose, almost mythical figures, and that's very much how Katakuri is written, like very, very just unreal sense of determination, resolve, etc. throughout his life, and that's just how he lived it, and that's his Conqueror's Haki, right? Yamato, we don't really get to know Yamato that well, but it's just understood that she has really, really strong will, right? Likely inherited from Kaido. Just a very strong-willed character. We can just assume that, I suppose, at the end of the day. Yeah. Michael Kurth, thanks for the 5. First, stands are basically the best of Fruits and Hockey if you ignore the inconsistencies. I don't think stands are really similar to Hockey. I mean, they are in that it's your spirit, technically, but I don't think there's a huge correlation in stands. Like, in Hockey, the stronger your spirit, the more likely you are to have, first of all, in the first place, to be a born Conqueror's Haki user, and then the stronger that is, then the higher your heights can go as a Conqueror's Haki user. I think Hockey is a more one-to-one combination of your drive, your ambition, etc., being your manifested spirit in terms of attack power or whatever. Stands, I don't think there's a hard correlation in that, oh, the stronger your spirit, the stronger your stand necessarily. Like, we see that with certain outliers, and this is very mild JoJo spoiler. I'm not going to spoil which stand, who has what stands or whatever, but certain characters have, like, main characters like Jotaro, extremely strong stand. The main villain, as you guys might know, Dio, extremely strong stand. But then there's other characters that don't have, like, rope stands necessarily. Like, it's not like you can have lots of villains that have strong stands, but the villains are kind of weak-willed or, you know, more Weasley characters. You can have characters that happen to have really strong stands that themselves aren't necessarily written as the, you know, as the most tough, driven, mentally strong characters and such. I think there's more of a variance there. There's probably some level of correlation that the, you know, characters with a certain level of resolve, conviction, etc. in JoJo's might be more likely to have some of the more broken stands, but I think it's a much, much, much softer core. Like, it's not like Hockey, where Hockey it's just straight up, you know, Luffy we know is going to have the best Conqueror's Haki in the verse at the end of the day because he has the strongest drive, ambition, spirit at the end of the day, you know? But I see there's a correlation. Tune us up, thanks for the 5. Fire Force is the most underrated power system. It starts off seemingly limited because the power comes all from fire, but gets so creative as it goes. So, it's very funny that you bring that up, because you know what I watched last night before I went to sleep? I watched Fire Force episode, 5 and 6 or something like that. I don't know why I decided to watch Fire Force. Oh, here's why I decided to watch Fire Force. I felt in the mood. I tried watching a few episodes of Fire Force once, and then I stopped because it just seemed... It felt... boring is a lazy critique, but I don't feel like putting more thought into it at the moment. But it just wasn't that interesting to me. It felt boring, and particularly the power system of fire seemed really, really, really boring to me because it's just in Fire Force everybody's ability is fire. It's different uses of fire, but ultimately everybody's ability is fire, right? I am starting to see that there's some variation to it, obviously, but you're gonna need a lot more, I think, to keep me interested at this point. I'm gonna give it a few more episodes. The reason I watched Fire Force, even though I'd barely tried it once and then kind of dropped it, the reason I tried it was because I really wanted to watch Jujutsu Kaisen last night. I was like, everybody's talking so much about how good this season is, must be really well animated and stuff. I've read this arc in the manga, so I know what happens, but people are talking about the animation and the sequences being amazing. So I was like, I really want to watch that. But then I was like, I'd rather binge it all when it finishes. Okay, let me watch something else. Is there any other random shonen anime out there that I haven't seen that's out there? I just wanted to watch characters beat each other up with some high level animation, right? So I was like, is there anything that's a shonen anime out there that I haven't seen that has is gonna give me some good animated fights or something like that I can watch a couple episodes of before I go to sleep? That was my thought process. So I was scrolling and scrolling. I was slowly the horrible realization was beginning to dawn on me, which was fuck, it's just Fire Force, isn't it? That's the only thing I can watch. It's just Fire Force. That's all that's out there at this point in time. So I watched 2 episodes of Fire Force. It was I don't know. I believe that it gets better. I believe that they come up with more interesting ways to use fire. I haven't seen it yet. I am really curious why the creator decided to lock himself into the concept that everybody in the verse is basically just a fire user and just rolled with that, because it seems like a very limiting concept. I'm really curious why. I know that it connects to Soul Eater, so maybe it's something related to Soul Eater stuff, but I was like, why would you do this to yourself? That makes things so... You're making it so much harder on yourself than it needs to be. Right? Am I crazy? It's why do it? It's got to be something story related that makes sense down the line. I don't know. Talha, thanks a lot. Katakuri was 48 and too insecure to show his mouth. Sanji greater. That's true. He was too insecure to show his mouth. That is true. But what's wrong with him being 48? I think people rag on him for being 48 and living with his mom at home. That's not what it was. I mean, maybe I'm inserting that part, but I've heard people joke about Katakuri 48 still living with his mom. It's first of all, in other cultures, it's okay to still live with your family, right? Second of all, Tatalan is an empire. It's a gigantic empire, and he happens to be a person on that empire, part of that empire, It's not like he's living in Big Mom's basement. Anyway, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Toji, thanks for the 5. Please tell me you read Jujutsu Kaisen manga, because Cursed Energy is peak right now. Can't spoil, but it's a mix of stands and even more refined end system. I have begrudgingly begun to respect Jujutsu Kaisen's power system more. I still think it really, really, really overdoes it with the number of rules that it, how contrived its system is I feel like it definitely adds in a lot more rules than necessary to try and make for clever scenarios that aren't really that clever, in my opinion, when a new rule is written in or explained right before the exception to the rule is written in right afterwards. I don't know. However, I reread that certain fight that happens down the line in Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm not up to date in the most recent chapters, but I did read that big fight. I reread the whole thing. I was like, you know what? In the moment, maybe I was being too negative about it. I think it is. I don't think we will get another manga fight event like this that kind of has a ripple effect where everybody on all manga anime spheres are talking about it. Even like there's memes that are going past just the manga anime sphere, etc. I like the author pulled off something really special, and I think that that's something that was only doable with Jujutsu Kaisen's power system. Because it's only with that power system that you can have so many convoluted back and forths and like rules and blah blah blah, and then this happens and then that happens, but then the exception to this and that, blah 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 blah, blah, etc. Like you can only really do it with that. So not only was it a very hyped up fight, it did ultimately live up to people's expectations. I understand a lot of people hated the ending, but I think a lot of people are adjusting to being okay with that being the ending at this point. Although I don't know, maybe that's still a sore spot. But at the end of the day, you kind of gotta sit back, be like, wow, that I can't really think of a fight similar to that was that long, that kept readers engaged for that long, and it kept people talking about the series for so long, even outside of the usual fandom. So I'm like, yeah, you can only really do that with a power system that offers so much so much intricacy to go back and forth over, even if I think it is a little overly convoluted and contrived at points. But it was definitely something groundbreaking for manga. Justin Holland, thanks for the 5. During my post, your stream cut to the end of your explanation. Repeat your answer. What was your... Let me take a look at your question again, and then we'll get back to the answer. I think you were asking about Garp, Dragon, Ace, and Luffy, if I remember, was your question, right? Let me just double check. You said Ace, Sabo, etc. Yeah, your question was Dragon, Garp, and Luffy all have roles to play, right? I think you probably caught me talking about Devil Fruits and Haki. As for Garp, Dragon, and Luffy, all I said was basically, I think Garp may have played his main role already, because his era is kind of over. It's not really Garp's era anymore. I think we got the big Garp sequence at the end of the day already with the Hachinosu raid, and him basically, like, he got to fight a whole Yonko crew plus Aokiji. That's about as impressive as it gets. And he freed Kobe, he freed the whole future of the Marines. I feel like that was the passing of the torch moment. I feel like we maybe got the big Garp role. The big role that he had to play. I feel like we got that. Would be happy to be surprised because I really like Garp if he does more, but I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't ask for too much more from that character. It's no longer his era, his role. He's probably past that, right? Passed that on to Kobe, etc. Dragon and Luffy will of course play a big role, and I think Sabo has to play a big role. He's the face of the revolution at this point. Kind of embarrassing for Dragon, who's been doing this shit for a long time, but now Sabo's the face. But anyway, could I do a video about fate and free will in the future? So honestly, there was a video that I wanted to do at one point about fate in One Piece, and then the whole Gear 5th stuff happened, and it was basically kind of, it gets messier because over the course of Wano, it became more and more clear. We always knew that there was prophecies and the will of D, etc. But just how concretely Luffy is the chosen one, the born chosen one, some people even think he's Joy Boy reincarnated, etc. I think some of that still needs to be understood. And the degree to which One Piece is leaning into, at the very least, Luffy was chosen by the fruit, we understand. And at the very least, we understand that Luffy is about to play out a role, the role of Joy Boy, that he was always sort of, that somebody was always meant to play, and it seems like he was the person who was finally born who's able to play it. But we do need to get a better understanding, I think, of how hard Oda wants to lean into Luffy is just born the chosen one. Like, from day one, his destiny, he is going to defeat Emu, free the world, blah, 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 and that's just scripted for his character. It feels a little out of place for someone like Luffy, who's all about following his own path and not anybody else's path or not any predetermined path. So for me at the moment, I think we just need to wait and see where the story goes with those ideas. I don't think I could do a great analysis right now, because with an analysis, you're trying to figure out what the main message of the story is, like what the author is trying to communicate, right? I don't think Oda's message regarding fate, destiny, and free will has been clearly articulated yet, and I think that question is still hanging. So I could do a video positing what I think, but I don't think we're at a point where the idea is 100% clear, and I think that we'll actually probably be going further towards the end of the story to understand that. Stanley Barton, thanks for the 5. The Dying Wheel Flames are one of the best power systems in anime. Basically just a much better version. Dying Wheel Flames? Dying Wheel Flames? Dying Wheel Flames. Is this Fire Force stuff? Because I don't know if I'm at a point where I understand what Dying Wheel Flames mean. Basically just a much better version of Chakra usage, conception, and variety. I don't know what that means yet. Basement Dweller Katakuri. See some stuff that just got deleted. William Marshall, thanks for the 5. What will it take for an arc to be solidly better than Enies Lobby? I feel like how Oda writes drama, characters, and pacing, Final Saga is Final Chance. I mean, a lot of readers will tell you that Oda's already done arcs better than Enies Lobby. Enies Lobby remains my favorite arc, my personal favorite arc, and I can tell you that at the very basic level, for me personally, what would it take for an arc to pass up for me personally, Enies Lobby, would be an arc where what Enies Lobby did really, really well was, look, at the end of the day, every One Piece arc, it's going to conclude with the Straw Hat. Every major One Piece arc is going to conclude with the Straw Hats beating the bad guys, right? I always will feel that a story where the good guys beat the bad guys is the most dramatic when you can actually focus on that cast of characters that is going to beat the bad guys and write in a really, really, really compelling drive, motivation. First of all, a really, really compelling conflict, like a character conflict that they are all experiencing, that they overcome in the process of defeating those bad guys, and write a really, really powerful driving motivation, need, etc. to defeat the bad guys and resolve this conflict, right? To date, I think Enies Lobby, that arc, that is the most basic explanation I can give, right? To date, like, you can ignore, if you want to take away, like, themes, you know, like, all the extraneous subtext, lore reveals, blah, 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 etc. At the most basic level, for me, the more powerful you can write a character conflict for the heroes, and then the greater rise back up that you can have, the greater drive, motivation, etc. need that they can have to then vanquish the bad guys, right? Thereby resolving the character conflict that they initially had. The better that you can do that simple concept, that simple storytelling concept, that is the more enjoyable story for me, right? That's really what I actually ultimately look for in shonen storytelling. So for me, for the Final Saga to pass up Enies Lobby, it would probably have to pose a much deeper, more personal, more visceral conflict for the Straw Hats. Like, dig in the way that Enies Lobby did. Like, dig in, make them feel the weight of this drama, make them experience, like, something heavy, and really bring out the most personal need or desire to basically for them to step up and have to, like, why are they fighting the Gorse? Why are they fighting the world government? Why are they trying to, or be it Blackbeard, whatever the Blackbeard parts, that might be even more personal. Why are they doing that? Really dig into that, really have them go through something, and then that's going to make it all the more dramatic for me when they rise up and actually succeed in vanquishing both their internal stuff that they're going through and the actual villains that they're going up against. For me, to date, Enies Lobby is still the most satisfying of that, right? So if the final arc can top that in some manner, which I think would be very difficult, then it would pass up Enies Lobby for me in my personal favorite arcs. Everyone has their own preferences. I'm just telling you what I love out of One Piece and what I would love to see. I do think Final Saga has a solid chance, though, because Final Saga, in theory, also focuses on the Straw Hats' dreams, their driving ultimate motivations, right? I think as long as that stuff can come into play, I think that there's a great chance for Final Saga to be, you know, like, this is the saga that we're going to get to see Zoro become the world's greatest swordsman, right? In theory, this could be the saga where we see Chopper have to cure Luffy in some disease or something, right? In theory, this is the saga this should be the saga where Robin's finally able to learn the true history, right? As long as there's fitting fitting character conflicts that go along with all of these things, right? That make them experience something dramatic. If they just get handed, like, if Robin reading the true history is just it's just like a standard situation of like, oh, we got to Zoe, here's some poneglyphs read. Oh, we got to Fishman Island, here's some poneglyphs read. I hope we get something character-wise for her, right? And then that gives her a drive to want to help defeat the world government or whatever, to resolve whatever she read in the true history. These are just examples, but putting the main characters through something, and giving them a really strong drive, motivation, need to defeat the villains, I think that's One Piece's greatest strength. And arcs like Enies Lobby's greatest strength. Leo Recto, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 8 months. I think Avatar had an underrated showcase of their power system. We see each element's fundamental values and Aang having to implement those into him. Avatar is a tricky one, because it's like, I loved Avatar growing up, and the power system was simplistic, but it was always, because largely the way that it's implemented was martial arts, it always felt just visually like it's an extension of martial arts, right? So it always felt like a lot of the nuances of Avatar's fighting was unspoken, because you could visually see how certain earthbenders would fight different than other earthbenders. You could visually see how certain waterbenders would fight different than, well, there's not a lot of water, but like, certain firebenders would fight. Like, even if you ignore, like, let's pretend variations like blue fire, lightning, metal bending, ice, pretend those variations don't even exist. You could take all that out. You could still just see the differences between how someone like Zuko might fight versus someone like Iroh might fight, right? That was always really, really cool to me about Avatar, that it very much felt like an extension of martial arts. Therefore, you can visually see it's not just, even especially between two types of bending, right? It's not just the type, what they're shooting out, it's how they're moving, how the characters are animated. It's vastly different, like their approach to fighting, like more defensive versus whatever. So I really, really appreciate Avatar's power system for that. And then, of course, as the series went on, it added more intricacies and variations, right? You can create mist, you can create, like, they even did stuff with clouds and stuff like that, right? So Avatar's a tricky one to evaluate. We'll get to it when we get to it, if it ends up on the tier list at all. I'm gonna pull it up in a second. Agenda Pirate, thanks for the 5. How do you think Jujutsu Kaisen is contrived but not stand/nen? They have many situations with a bunch of complex rules and exceptions introduced mid-battle. Yeah, I mean, I've never said that nen is perfect. I don't think nen is that great either, in many ways. Like, I think that there's no... How do I say this? Everything is relative, right? Just because you can see the flaws in certain power systems, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, but what's there in manga that's better? Because at the end of the day, manga writing, and I think people forget this, but manga writing is inherently going to have lots and lots and lots of like little holes and hiccups and forgotten things, because it's being written at a breakneck pace, right? This is not like a fantasy book. I've heard that deep fantasy books have really good layered power systems and stuff like that, but these aren't those, right? Because books, novels, movies, etc., you get time to sit down and write, right, over an extended period of time and refine. Manga, it's written like this, right? It's like, if I'm making up rules for this magic system, right, and I'm putting out a chapter, and I'm putting out a chapter this week, and then the next week, and the next week, and the next week, I might not remember exactly what I wrote like 45 weeks ago, and if that happens to maybe contradict what I wrote like 90 weeks before that or something like that, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's all done at a breakneck pace. So sure, while Hunter x Hunter is in a certain arc, it's going to be focusing a lot on, like, here's the 6, like, the 4 principles of nen or something like that, and here's the 6 types of nen and stuff. And over time, bits and pieces of that are going to be more or less important, because the author doesn't have every single thing perfectly planned. They're just writing what feels good in the moment. and bits and pieces they're going to realize are less relevant down the line. They might even forget something down the line, might forget a rule down the line. So that's the tricky part with complex power systems. So I think Nen and Jujutsu Kaisen, Nen and what do we call Cursed Energy or whatever, they're equally, like they both have a lot of flaws, holes, whatever you want to say. But at the end of the day, it's like, what's still better, more advanced, more interesting than a lot of the more basic power systems. Like I'd say they're still both better than Chakra, right? That's why I've got such a problem with hockey, because hockey is really not that complicated. It's actually one of the more basic ones. Like Oda finally added some rules to the power system, and it's just like, why should something like this that's this it's relatively simple, really. Like it's so, like if you compare hockey to Nen has a million more rules that are thrown into it. Hockey is way less rules. It's like, dude, you should be able to keep track of this. Like, not even just keep track, you should be able to communicate what's going on a lot easier than, like, this should be easier than trying to write a Nen fight or a Jujutsu Kaisen fight. But it's like, we literally don't know to this day what Zoro's doing against Lucci. At this moment in time, we don't know. It's unclear. And it's just like, that's just bizarre to me. Party McFly, again, that's not a knock on, like that's not to say that these series are better than One Piece, right? People, like, One Piece is not going to be better in every category than every other manga. This is not one of its greatest strengths. I just don't think it is. Stans, though, I'm surprised you brought up Stans, because Stans is different, because Stans kind of took the approach at a certain point, which is just like, nothing matters, it's all just random bullshit. So I kind of roll with that, because if we want to evaluate Stans by like, oh, this broke the rules that Stardust Crusaders set up like in part 3, it's like, yeah, then we got a lot of stuff to say about Stans. But at the same time, at a certain point, the series has gone on so long, I think readers have understood that there's not a lot of rules to Stans outside of the individual rules that each stand has, and that's really what the fights are about. So it's more so what the power system has become than technically what it was established to be once upon a time. Party McFly, thanks for the 5. Would you do a tier list ranking the best arcs from each shonen series? Like Shibuya Incident versus Chunin Exams versus whatever the best arc of JoJo's is. I would probably not do that, because I think that could get very, very... That's too controversial, and it's also just really... Not controversial, it would just... It would cause too many fights. It would cause too many fights, and it's also really hard to... I think it's really hard to do that. Okay, if I'm ranking just the best arcs from each series, right? Then I think that's doable, because it's like each series take their best arc and then rank it against each other. For a moment, I read that as like rank all arcs from all series against each other, and I'm like, man, I don't even fucking remember what happened in like this arc of like X arc of Attack on Titan or something. But if it's like the best arc of each series, I could see that. But then I don't know. That'll be controversial for sure. There'll also be recency bias on my part, because some things I've just forgot. Like, I mentioned Attack on Titan. I haven't read Attack on Titan in a while. Versus I've read Shibuya Incident in the last couple years. So, I don't know. Leo Recto, thanks for being a young... I'll consider that. That's an idea. I'll consider that. Leo Recto, no, we covered you. This Japanese name that I feel like you've contributed before, but I don't know, because before somebody's contributed from Japan that post their comments in Japanese, who have to translate, but your comment is in English, so I'm sorry I don't know your name, but I appreciate it. Hearts from Japan, Morji, Avid Vodder from 2020, nice to hear from you. I wish One Piece, English, and Japan could be more intertwined. Unlucky any Japan scan sites would be nuked by Shueisha, even if Japan were okay with them. There's definitely a portion that wants early scans here too. Well, there's going to be portions of people that want everything everywhere. From what I've heard, people in Japan hate people that like read scans and such. So I'm just like, okay, I'm sorry that we ruined that for you. But if other people want early scans, at the end of the day, it's like if you had the option to read something a bit early, most people would just take it. But I know that a lot of people over there really hate us for it. So I don't know what the consensus is, man. Breezy2X, thanks for the 5. If the ending drops the ball, how will that affect how you view the rest of the series? I've always said that it varies in terms of what dropping the, like, what does a bad ending, like, what does a bad ending mean? Because there's a sliding scale. I think there's 3 levels of what I view as a bad ending for me personally, right? One is Yu Yu Hakusho ending. Okay? Yu Yu Hakusho ending. Spoilers for Yu Yu Hakusho. It's really not a big deal. I promise you this isn't a big deal. It's just, I'm saving you some fucking time. Don't read Yu Yu Hakusho if you care about endings. The ending of Yu Yu Hakusho is off screen. The entire ending is off screen. There's a big tournament that the entire final saga is building towards, and then Togashi no longer wants to write it, so he off screens it, and there's just like an abrupt chapter at the end which he just explains exactly what happened over the course of the tournament and who won. Fucking random ass side character won that we just met. So Yu Yu Hakusho ending, if it ends like that, I will. It really fucks up One Piece for me, man. It really, really does. Move one step over, and we have the Bleach ending. Again, 1,000-Year Blood War looks like it's going to fix Bleach's ending because the author is coming in, adding much more new material, stuff that he wished that he could have added before. He has gone on record saying that he ended it faster than he would have liked. A lot of Bleach fans push back on this, and they're like, well, it's not because Bleach was getting canceled. He just had to do it for health reasons or something. It's like, okay, I don't care what the reason was. Regardless, Kubo had to end Bleach much earlier than he would have liked, right? So the entire ending got really, really rushed and compressed. Most Bleach fans are okay with admitting this now. At one point in time, they were very defensive about this. But most Bleach fans are okay with admitting this now, that the ending is terrible and terrible and terrible and extremely rushed. Because now they get a do-over with 1,000-Year Blood War. So now it's like, okay, now that we actually get a good ending, we can stop pretending that terrible ending was okay, right? So the Bleach ending, the rushed ending, if One Piece gets that, I think I'd probably be pretty disappointed, and it would definitely greatly affect my previous love of the series, but I think I would still be able to go back and enjoy, like, previous parts of it, like pre-time skip or something, and then I could pretend like there would be maybe little bits of the ending that I could take away as like kind of enjoyable, but I'd probably feel like a lot less investment in the Straw Hat stories if those got shortchanged and things like that. So if it's a Bleach if it's a Yu Yu Hakusho ending, then One Piece is kind of dead to me. If it's a Bleach ending, then it's kind of like, okay, I'd still look back fondly at parts of the series, but a lot of it would just ring hollow. And finally, you have the Naruto ending. Naruto's ending, while not great and not good, in my opinion, ultimately, I don't think it left many loose ends or anything like that. And ultimately, I think like the main things that people wanted, like Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, their shit got closed out. Kakashi got some stuff. Like, we got questions answered, right? It mostly did what it needed to, I guess. It just, people didn't really like what happened or how it went down. If One Piece's ending ends like that, I would actually view it as basically One Piece kind of sticking the landing, just because the final saga is so ambitious. Like, One Piece is so much larger, so much more ambitious than Naruto. If it's able to get like a Naruto level ending, I would count that as a win. Even though I wouldn't like the ending, I'd be like, okay, we didn't fuck up the whole thing entirely. It's like good enough. So I could still view One Piece as a very impressive epic in its own right, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So you've got a Yu Yu Hakusho level ending. I love for One Piece is dead. Bleach level ending, a lot of it rings hollow now, but maybe it's I could still like it in parts and kind of just would feel less attachment to certain storylines or whatever that I know end up not mattering. Naruto level ending, I'd be like, okay, you know what? That's not as bad as it could have been. We'll take it. We'll leave it. So the good news is One Piece's ending seems like it's going to be better than any of those three endings. The final saga seems like it's One Piece firing on all cylinders at the moment. I would say Egghead Island at least is. And I think there's tremendous potential for a really good ending here. So I don't think we have to worry about that too much. The only thing that could get in the way at this point is Oda's health. Jack D. Slime, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 2 months. Has anyone said the Titans from Attack on Titan? I can't think of any flaws for that power system. That's not a power system, man. I mean, I guess it is. I think everything's a power system at a certain point. Talha, thanks. Google Alamancy, Mistborn's power system novel. Yeah, people say that, like, fantasy books have the best power systems and such. I could believe that. Oh, shit. What am I doing with this? Eric Gelato, thanks for the two. How do you feel about Obito versus Kakashi? Oh, I tweeted about that. So a lot of people think that I was saying that it's a bad fight. It's not a bad fight. It's a really, really good fight for Naruto. But then there's some people that are like, well, no, it's a really good, well-animated fight in general. It's a great animated fight. It's a great fight, let's say that. But a lot of people are like, oh, it's the best fight in anime. It's like, it's not even the best fight in Naruto. It's a great, little snippet of hand-to-hand combat for sure. I think a lot of people really, really like it because of the emotion and the flashbacks and such. I think Obito's, and I think Obito and pretty much everything related to Obito is fucking stupid as shit. So, to me, it's just like, damn, they really went hard trying to make this very artistic and emotional for something that's really fucking corny and stupid. So, to me, that part doesn't hit. So I'm just like, okay, it's cool for how grounded and how grounded and detailed they went with the actual taijutsu, right? That's what they say in Naruto, the taijutsu that they're going for. I thought that that's great. One of the best fights in Naruto for sure. Probably one of the best bits of like hand-to-hand combat that you will see in anime period. But when I think of great anime fights, I think of fights that are actually visually fantastic, things that, yeah, like I always say, to me, animation is about imagination, right? Show me something fantastic, show me something detached from reality, right? A departure from reality. Show me something that I can't get out of live action, right? To me, that's the brilliance of great anime fights, when it doesn't even have to be about superpowers and stuff, but just how are you moving the camera, right? What are the camera angles that are being chosen? Is it stuff like, are you doing things that are more dynamic that can be actually shot in a traditional action movie, right? How are you using colors, the color palette, right? These things, like the perspectives that are being shown, the cuts that are being done, there's a lot that can be done with anime that makes the medium unique, and it makes it something that makes it its own art form, right? I think a fight like Kakashi versus Obito, great, like I respect that animation quite a lot. Great imitation of live action fighting, live action grounded hand-to-hand combat. But I would never look at that and be like, wow, this is the pinnacle of what animation can do, or like this is the true value of the medium, because it's not, right? It's more so like, look, we can animate to mimic something really realistic and grounded and do that really well. It's like, great. But ultimately, that's not the best that the medium can offer, in my opinion. Remix King, thanks for being a Yonko. Again, still a great fight, because lots of times, change of pace, right? You don't always need superpowers and like crazy movement and visual flair, etc. Great fight, but I think definitely overrated by anime fans in the grand scheme of things. Remix King, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 10 months. Made the tier list so you use a low quality one. Chat, let me know if any anime is missing while Morj is stalling. Oh, let me take a look at this. What did he say? Oh, okay, cool. Let's take a look. All right, let me share this with you guys. Thank you, Remix King. I appreciate you being a Yonko tier member for 10 months, and I appreciate you making this tier list. I shouldn't have said for Naruto. It's great by any standard. Because Naruto has really good fights. Okay. Let's see. Let's take a look at this. So, the problem is that, okay, what have I watched / read? The problem is I can't do ones that I haven't seen, and there's a lot that I haven't seen is the thing. Why is God of High School here? Why is God of High School here? Why? I kind of only want to do ones that have like an actual power system. Like, for example, One Punch Man, there's not really a power system, you know what I mean? Like, characters just have... And like, we got a great Pokemon. I feel like Pokemon fans are just going to say Pokemon's the best, because you could argue Pokemon is the best, right? Because it's the power system that gets people the most obsessed, I guess because of the games or whatever, but, people are really, really into Pokemon shit. Why is Kaguya-sama here? You did this wrong, Remix King. This was a poor job. I appreciate the effort. This was a terrible job. Why is Kaguya-sama here? I don't even know what this is. Avatar's in there, cool. I haven't read Toriko. Seven Deadly Sins, I only kind of know. Not an NPC. You with the suspicious name. Thanks for the 20. As a big fantasy reader, I've always wanted Oda to go back after he finishes and edit the story, cleaning up arc decisions. But this also feels like blasphemy. What's your thoughts? Almost a Dragon Ball Super. No, I would not want Oda to do that. Even for like random little things that, uh, like there's random little things. I'm just like, okay, he could have Pell die or something like that, right? But I feel like One Piece is what One Piece is now. I feel like there's no arc that's terribly botched, you know? Like, it'd be one thing. Here's the thing. I think Oda always gets to do what he ultimately wants to do, for the most part. I think it's even been said that the editors can't stop him now. So, it's like he got to do what he wants to do. I think it's a different case. Like, if he changes his mind as he's older or something like that, I wouldn't want him to do that, to go back and change things, because you're a different person then, and you're taking your new vision of the story to go back and change your old vision of the story. But it's like, I don't care what your vision of the story is now. I'm interested in the guy that I was, like, the person whose story I was reading week to week for these years. Like, that person, right? The guy that you were from East Blue, like 1997, all the way to the end of One Piece, like the creative mind that was coming up with all that. That's just a story, for better or worse. That's what I want to read. Like, if in 20 years he's like, you know what, like, because at that point you're a different person. Your mind has changed about things. You probably think about ideas differently. Maybe you're like, I could make the themes of East Blue way more complex, or I could make the story more dramatic in this way or that way. It's like, cool. You need to make a new story. You're a different person now. You make that story, right? I view that as very different from what Tite Kubo is doing right now with Bleach, because with Bleach, he was unable to write the story the way that he wanted to in the first place. Because, or at least finish the story out the way that he wanted to in the first place. Because people say it was health reasons or something like that, but he had to cut the final arc short. So now, apparently, he's getting to go back and change things to how he initially would have wanted them to be. Obviously, that's going to bleed in a little bit with what his new ideas are, etc. But for the most part, we can all tell that what he initially got to do was not what he wanted to do. With Oda, as long as he's getting to do, for better or worse, what he wants to do, that's just the most organic story that we're getting. And if you go back and tinker with things too much, then eventually you might start losing more than you're gaining, right? I think a classic example that Star Wars fans bring up is, they don't like a lot of the changes that George Lucas is going back to make, because it's like, classic example, Han shot first, Greedo shot first, right? George Lucas is like, well, I don't want to make Han look like the bad guy or whatever. It's like, no, but we like that. We liked when you initially depicted him like that. Like, that feels more organic, and that's the character that we knew. Once you change something like that, then that changes how we interpret the character, right? So, I wouldn't want Oda to do that. Unless it's something health related, right? If it's something health related and he has to cut it short, or there were reasons that he couldn't do what he wanted to do, then I'd be cool with that. But as it seems like right now, I think he even put out like some interview where he's saying like, I have no regrets with what I've done so far, with each arc in One Piece or something. So, Ray Chia, thanks for the 2. The best power system is money, i.e. Iron Man / Batman. These aren't power systems, alright. Chris HZ, thanks for the 5. What did you think about Hamon and the rules that it had? How about quirks? I think Hamon would have been too limiting. It's a cool system, and it was more well-structured, I guess, than you can say. Like, I think Hamon and Stans is the perfect example of... I think I think you can't get a better example than Hamon versus Stans in terms of, like, two polar extremes, in that Hamon is very, very structured in terms of... Like, there's a lot more that goes into the rules, how it works, how they train it, things like that. And part 1 and 2, it seemed to be developing that quite a bit. But because it's structured in a certain way and does only certain things, right? There was a very tight framework of what could be done with Hamon. You can only do so many things with that ability. Stans is the total opposite. It's like, we kind of had some rules, we threw the rules out the window. There's mostly no rules, and you can do anything with Stans. Stans, they just make up their own rules, right? It's like the most untethered, unstructured power system, in my opinion. Stans, it's just... I can have a stand that's like, if you wore the color red 5 weeks ago or something like that. And it happened to be rainy outside, then now I control your fingernails for the rest of the day, right? That's just a stand ability. But because of that, you get just so much more variety and options for fights, right? With Hamon, it probably started to become a chore trying to think of, like, how do I find new ways to make a really, really tricky fight using Hamon, where the characters outsmart, like where the protagonist outsmarts the villain through some clever method, through some new application of this power system that only does certain things. And stands, it's just like the world's your oyster, right? There's so many ways you can go with a opponent's stand ability, and so many options that you can come up with of how to counteract that creatively with your protagonist ability. So I think it's perfectly representing the two ends. Like, having a really well structured and thought out power system with details of like how to train it, how to improve it, how to implement it, etc. It can be cool. It can be creating a cohesive system, but ultimately what's producing the more interesting, fun fights with the greater variety, just variety, uniqueness, general fantastic appeal, etc. Sometimes more rules aren't necessarily better, you know? I think I compare, like, it's funny because I think Nen fights and stand fights are often fairly similar in terms of how the author's trying to write them, which is he's trying to write, you're trying to write something a bit more strategic, right? Where how does this ability interact with this ability, and there's some resourcefulness that you can come up with to figure a way out around the opponent's ability, right? Nen fights, like the particularly strategic ones, they can only happen so often in the story. They're actually pretty rare. Like Nen fights, like Hunter x Hunter goes on for hundreds of chapters, but there's only so many Nen fights that actually happen that are memorable, that you can think of like, okay, the strategy and all of that was interesting, because it's harder to write, right? Because you have more rules that you have to play into. Like, how is this ability gonna, like, you're just having to keep track of more things. So it feels like the author has to have like a very clear idea of exactly what they want to do over the course of the fight to set up a really cool Nen fight, right? Like Morel versus, I shouldn't spoil anything, right? They're great Nen fights, but I think you can just do them less frequently than stand fights, which you can just do fucking every other chapter. It's like, we just finished a stand fight, time for the next stand fight. Just do that over and over and over again, because the rules are so fluid and loose. It's just, yeah, we can just throw this into the mix and then that in the mix, and now you got to fight, right? You don't need to worry about rules or like contradictions or like, are we making sure that we're introducing something new that breaks the system here or whatever. It's just like, no, it's just fucking stand fights. We just do whatever. That's not to say all stand fights are good, but you can have fights back to back to back to back to back to back to back without ever thinking about a thing, you know, like power rules wise or whatever. 1 sec, let me see how far back I am. D exclamation says Kishimoto recycling the same plot over and over. I'm not gonna get into that, not gonna touch that, but you know, I think Naruto has its strengths, some not strengths, I don't know. Let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Noah Phillips says, what about Beyblade or Yu-Gi-Oh power system? That's getting too complicated, man. Like, Yu-Gi-Oh power system, I'm not gonna count that. Because it's just like, if I Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm biased because I'm like, well, I played Yu-Gi-Oh the game for a while, and I think that it is a terribly designed game past a certain point. But by the standards of anime and manga, it's a really, really far more intricate power system, right? You know, like, to be thought out enough that can actually become a game in and of itself means that it's much more well thought out. And like that game's been successful for like 20 years, regardless if I think it's a flawed game overall. Beef Stroganoff, thanks for the 5. I think it was irresponsible for everyone to not go back and check on Kaido and Big Mom before leaving, especially with Pluton being nearby. Dude, I mean, that's just a One Piece thing where it's like characters don't really like check their P's and Q's and stuff like that. It's just kind of assumed that it's just a One Piece thing. It's like, we're all happy now. Things have been resolved. I agree it was irresponsible. Someone should have checked. It's really weird that nobody did check, because it's just like, well, they didn't come back up. They're probably, like, if you're a citizen in Wano, you gotta be living with, like, this thought, like, wait, so the dragon died, right? Like, the dragon that ruled us, he's dead? It's like, well, yeah, they punched him underground. It's like, wait, they just punched him underground? It's like, yeah, and he hasn't come back in 2 weeks, so it's pretty much a guarantee. It's like, fuck, man. You just punched him underground? Did anyone go underground to check? It's like, we went underground, but it was actually just to look for a boat. We didn't really look for Kaido and Big Mom. It's like, oh, shit. All right. Stay Curious says, thoughts on Invincible? I have not watched the second season. I think it's funny that it came back after so much waiting and so much anticipation, and then it went on break right away, like 4 episodes in. To be fair, Invincible episodes are an hour long, so it's like 3 episodes of an anime each, so it's like 12 episodes in, kind of, it took a break, but it's still funny because it's just 4 episodes sounds funny. Real spoilers for 1100, thanks for the 10, but your message was deleted. I will also say that I'm a little annoyed, like, I think sometimes, like, okay, on the one hand, of course, support animators, right? Of course, support animators. They need all the time that they can get to... They should get the amount of time that they need to comfortably be able to complete their projects, right? But sometimes certain things are used to obscure bigger problems, which is like, yeah, I'm sure the Invincible animators, like, we should look out for them, but I don't think that the delay Invincible episodes was for animators, because it's gone on, like, on the record, they're already done with season 2 and have been working on season 3 or something like that. The delay is very clearly for Amazon. It's just for Amazon so that it can stretch people's subscriptions longer, because it conveniently starts at the start of the next, like, start of January is when it's going to pick back up again, and it's got nothing to do with the animators as far as I've heard. I've never heard a thing of, like, Invincible animators being pushed or stressed or anything. Like they've said, we're working on it, but I've never heard of, like, I don't think that this is a thing for the animators. As far as I've heard and understood, this is just a Amazon being like, yeah, we can squeeze one more month of, like, they lose nothing by making people wait another month for Invincible. And they probably managed to hold on to some more Prime subscriptions over the course of that one. Like, it's a 1 month gap. So for them, that's basically like, it's pretty straightforward, right? Like, you release 8 episodes over 2 months, right? Maybe you only get some people subscribing for Invincible for 2 months. You release 8 episodes of Invincible over 3 months by taking a 1 month break. Bada boom, you just got, you got people subscribing to Amazon for 3 months instead of just the 2 that you could have got, right? Especially if they time it up right so that it could kind of go over, like, 3 to 4 months. I don't know what date it started. It's just an Amazon thing. It's not a, like, animators thing as far as I understand. As far as I understand. So it's kind of annoying. Like, unless I'm missing something, if I'm misinformed and has been some news about the animators, my bad. But from what I understand and kind of, like, what just seems to make sense, and how people talk about how they do subscriptions and how they try and, like, squeeze subscriptions and stuff, this is not something that people should be, like, people should be pissed that they're splitting up Invincible over another month, because the season, as it sounds like, is done. They could give us the full thing. They're just trying to get more money out of viewers, which is basically shitty and something that people should complain about, rightfully so. So I kind of don't like that this bleeding heart cause, which is a valid cause of, like, we should try and look out for animators, is being used stupidly to obfuscate, like, an actual problem. It's just like like, yes, we agree that that's a problem, but don't use that to stop people from criticizing, like, a giant corporation that's trying to take advantage of you by fooling you with this cause, you know? So that, I don't know, that's just what, like, if I'm mistaken and something has come out about the animators being mistreated or underpaid or something, that's its own thing. But as far as I know, the season is complete, and this is just classic, subscription milking, basically. Anyway, let's move it along. Yeah, we can't do all of these, but is there anything missing? Let me see if there's something. Let me see if I can find another tier list that doesn't have Kaguya-sama on it. I'm just gonna say Shonen Power Systems, because it's like, What senten's here? Like Berserk doesn't have like a power system. Vinland Saga doesn't have like a power system. I'm talking about stuff that, has stuff that has like rules and stupid stuff that we argue over. We might just have to roll with this one. The thing is, there's plenty that I have not seen. Like, I don't know Saint Seiya, you know? There's things I don't know. Oh, this one's good. I like this one. And it's simple and tight, so we can kind of roll through this easier. Okay, so what we're looking at here, and tell me what stands out as missing. Alright? Tell me if anything stands out as missing. Pyrokinesis, so that's Fire Force. Being a Titan, not really power system in my opinion, but it is what it is. Alchemy, which I actually forgot about. Stands, Cursed Energy, Nen. I think this is hitting all the popular ones, and we're mostly going to stick to the popular ones because those are going to be the ones that I know, and the ones that most of chat knows, right? I think this covers pretty much everything that I think is traditionally popular, right? Like we got One Piece, Fairy Tail, Bleach, Power of Friendship, don't know what that is. Fear, what is this? Oh, Chainsaw Man. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I don't think that's a power system, but it's not a power system. I mean, I guess power system is just stuff that has rules that characters train and stuff, right? Like Chainsaw Man, it's not the same thing. It's just characters have this ability, and you just have whatever ability you have and you fight with it. It's not like breathing styles where like Tanjiro is going through a whole training arc of like learning how to use. I mean, there is a mini training arc in Chainsaw Man, but we basically skip what it is. It's just them getting more savvy at fighting. Do we have quirks in here? Yeah, they got quirks. I think this is it. I'm gonna roll with this because this is everything that I know, and I don't really want to expand past my list of understanding. CSM has contracts. It's not the same. It's not this like the contract is just to use the ability that a character that someone else has. Hey, Yano says it's still a system, but then at that point we're just going based off of like how much I like the concept, because I love the concept of Chainsaw Man's abilities, that they're all based on fear, but what the abilities actually like. Okay, we'll include it. I mean, this is gonna get difficult. It is a power system. Yeah, I'll rename the tiers. Hey, Yanos says, how do you train stands? That's true. And as I said, stands don't really have rules that are super consistent. I mean, there's some stuff like the further away it goes, the weaker it is or something, but even that's not true the further we go in the series. Okay. Maybe I'm being biased. I don't know why I'm being biased against trying to include Chainsaw Man, but just it feels weird to include this as a power system to me, but it is a power system. Remix King, thanks for the 2. Morj, this is BS. Do a poll and just skip some. What do you mean do a poll and just skip some? No. Yours had random shit. I'm not including the ones that yours had. Although I appreciate you making it. But it's just like, yours just had so much random shit. I don't even know what a lot of it is. And I'm not going to go just off polls to put something in S tier when I don't even know what it is. So if it's something that I don't know at all, like, I can't put Kaguya-sama in there. I think certain things just didn't fit. That's my opinion. D says also more fear makes them stronger. Yeah, it's a system. I guess it's a system. All right. Missing Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really remember. I remember Yu Yu Hakusho is basically, it's just ki, right? It's very similar to Dragon Ball. It's just ki, but everybody had different abilities, though. They had more varied abilities than Dragon Ball, so it wasn't just ki, actually. What am I talking? I think Yusuke just had he had the very straightforward, vanilla, type A fighting style, right? Spirit gun, martial arts, etc. But then, Kurama is out there with all these plants and crazy shit. And then Hiei is using Amaterasu well before Amaterasu was a thing in Naruto, So it's tricky. Shaq says no undead unluck. Fuck. Did the other one have undead unluck? I think undead unluck has a great power system. You guys want to do a stand-in? Let's call this one undead unluck because I don't know. This doesn't apply for anything else. I also like that this layout you can see what each one is. Is there any major popular one that's missing? I would agree on that. Undead unluck should be here. Any popular one that's missing? Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. How am I supposed to say Hiei's name? That's his name. Hiei. 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 That's it. How am I supposed to say it? What's it actually supposed to be? Oh, I'm seeing spoilers. All right, thank you. One Punch Man? Okay, One Punch Man doesn't have a power. I think we can agree on that. It's just people having random abilities. Most of them are just people that work out or have some cyborg thing. Hiei? That's what I said. Hiei. Hiei. Star Alicia says, Morj, you see me. Dying Will Flames. What are Dying Will Flames? What are Dying Will Flames? Is that from Fire Force? Dying Will Flames. Let's look it up. Oh, it's from Reborn. Oh, who remembers the Reborn story that I told 4 streams ago? Who remembers the Reborn story? Hiei. That's what I'm saying. Hiei. How am I supposed to say it? Hiei? Why would it be he? What? EI doesn't make the A sound. HI, so that's he. And then EI. That should be. You guys are wrong. Ramen Satan says Pokemon Adventures is missing. True. Alright, we'll keep it that way. Breezy2x says, do you understand Nen? If yes, explain it. No, that's Wing's job. He can do it. Yeah, you guys remember the Katakiro Reborn story? I'm not going to repeat it because it's a longish. Nah, it's not a long story. It's just a pain to explain again. But I'm probably never going to try that series. Thomas McAfee, thanks for the 2. It's Hiei like an 8. Hiei? No, that's incorrect. None of us will ever know because no one's ever said that word out loud in real life. So let's move on. Everyone tells me that I have wrong pronunciations for a lot of things, but I feel strongly that everything's open to. Let's say, let's change these tiers. S. Let's get the standard ones. A, B, C. All right. Should we have a D tier? Let's do a D tier to start with. If we don't need it, we don't need it. Let's hope we don't need it. We want to keep it a positive stream. Oh, wait. Hockey exists, so unfortunately it's going to go there. All right, let's go. All right. Let's move it along. Wait, no. Is there anything that we want to include that's not included here? We're already going to say that Power of Friendship is going to be Undead Unluck. Oh, I gotta move some stuff around? Let me move it. Where do you want to move it to? Top? You said top what? Top left? Top right should be good, right? Top right should work. Let's start with the understanding that no anime power system is perfect. None of them are perfect. But it's just the nature of basically being a person that has to write a plot, dialogue, draw week after week after week, at the same time having to make up certain mumbo jumbo for nerds who are going to care about it and keep extensive detail on it while you're just trying to make it to the next week and hit your deadline. So just by the virtue of the way manga works, it is no author's fault that they may sometimes be inconsistent or forget earlier rules or like explain some stuff that never comes up again. It's just the way shit works. That being said, I think that there's no reason that hockey shouldn't have something clearer, anything to make us understand when certain things are being used. Thomas McAfee, thanks for the 2. Pokemon definitely has the best power system. Yeah, that's why it's too good to include here, because it's just like, it's Pokemon. If we want to include Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff like that, that's not fair, because it's just... The systems are so good that you've got, like, entire gaming cultures, thousands of people strong, that are devoted and spend their lives focusing on them, right? It's different, I think. D says, original dub, it's she, or she for hiai? She? Why is it she? That's dub. I don't trust dub. Alright. Salem says Nen is not a power system, Morj. No, Nen is a... Alright. Okay, whatever. Dripty Sauce says those are power tools more than power systems, honestly. No, power tools are like drills and shit. Like electric drills. These are not those. Alright, let's move it along. We're going to start with... Okay, anything else major that's missing? Anything else major that's missing? Sergeant Pepper 546 says Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't have a coherent power system. It doesn't initially, but then it develops one as the series goes on. Initially, it's just whatever the fuck. It's like, Pegasus does Toon World, and then it just does random Toon shit, and now you can't hit my monsters or whatever, but it develops a much, much, much more coherent power system than any of these other series over time. Like, there's... Because it's literally a game, right? You're having to play... Like, the characters are having to play a game against each other. So there's way more rules like, okay, you have to sacrifice this to do this. Then you can play this card. Polymerization this card. We can do this card. So we set a trap card. Flip my trap card. I can draw 2 cards. Like, shit like that. Like, it's just... It's inherently much more involved than any of these systems. It's just... The series have to be able to function and move on. Obviously, there are flaws to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game, but they're, like... Even in the show version of the game, there are still flaws and things that are forgotten or rules that are bypassed or ignored once in a while. But the system of rules there is just infinitely more detailed than anything that any of these systems have, because it's like the show's actually trying to have characters fight in like a game, so the rules just matter way more. You know. John678, thanks for the 5. Morj, I'm asking for permission to test out an anti-bot on your chat, but I'd have to release the sex bots first. It's for a class I'm taking right now, thanks. What? Test out an anti-bot on my chat. I guess you can do that. What do you mean you have to release the sex bots first? You have them locked up somewhere? Shmurda says, Morj, you're forgetting we're talking about the anime and the Millennium items are a bunch of bullshit, lol. Yeah, but that stuff's like outside the game. That stuff's like, I can control your mind, or I can read your mind, or I can swap with Yugi and stuff like that. Oh, he's trolling? There's no such thing? Alright, never mind then. Yeah, you can easily troll me with technology stuff, because I just don't understand it. Alright, let's move on. Okay. Not an NPC says Prince of Tennis power system. Oh, Prince of Tennis does have a fun power system, but people will think it's dumb, so we can't include it. And most people didn't read Prince of Tennis. Alright, let's move it along. So, pyrokinesis. This is from Fire Force. I want to put it in... Here's the thing. I'm only 6 episodes in, and the guy has already found several creative ways to use fire. But at the same time, I think it's an inherently boring power system. You know what I mean? I think it's an inherently boring power system. Does Fire Force get interesting? Remix King says, Morj, do you want to clean up mine? In my opinion, you just fall back on the chat to obtain opinions on this you haven't seen. But then it's trickier for me because it's like there's going to be a lot that I haven't seen. And if I have to fall back on chat for so many of them, then I just don't even know what to... There's nothing for me to engage with. Magi, Reborn, Fairy Tail are S easy. Why is Fairy Tail S? Why is Fairy Tail S? I don't think Fairy Tail's S. I don't know, man. There's too many in there that would be... There's too many in there that would be just question... Like, I would have nothing to go off for them. But I guess we could do it... Let me take a look at yours again. What does yours have that's missing from mine that is relevant to talking about? Does it have Undead Unluck? Does it have Undead Unluck? Let me see. Let's take a look. So yours has... Okay. So yours has... Akame ga Kill... Attack on Titan, Black Clover, Bleach. Haven't seen Bungo Stray Dogs. I don't know why you have this. Demon Slayer, Dragon Ball, Fairy Tail. I haven't seen Fate. Fate's actually the next thing I want to watch because it seems interesting. You got Alchemy. Haven't seen God of High School. This is just volleyball. Sword Art Online. I've only seen like half of the first season or like the first season. Don't know what this is. ReZero, which I used to mix up with Fate Zero, but they're separate things. Pokemon, One Punch Man, One Piece, Naruto. I haven't seen Mob Psycho. My Hero. I've only seen a bit of Magi. Kaguya-sama, Jujutsu Kaisen, JoJo's, Hunter x Hunter. Seven Deadly Sins. I've seen enough of it that I generally know the power system, but everybody also has like really different abilities too. Like different sources for their abilities. Don't know what this is. Haven't read Soul Eater. Spy Family. I mean, I know what the main character's abilities are. Tokyo Ghoul. I just think there's a Tokyo Ghoul I haven't. No, I've seen the first season of Tokyo Ghoul, but people say the manga's much better. I remember the abilities from here. Don't know this. Yu Yu Hakusho, yeah. Avatar, yeah. Toriko Fire Force. Don't know this. But this seems familiar. I'm leaning towards no Remix King. I'm leaning towards the other one. Because the other one, it's shorter, so we can realistically do it without me having to speed through. And then the other one has too many things that I consider kind of gray areas. So it's like, do we include this in a power system discussion or not? Like One Punch Man. And then 3, the other one has like several things that I don't know at all. So it's like, 1, I don't know, do we even want to include it? And then 2, I'd have to be asking chat basically entirely for you guys to explain to me what it is. And then chat's going to vote. And I'm like, I don't want just chat to be able to decide, does it go S tier or D tier when I don't know at all what it is. And then I'd like it to be more 50-50 where we're trying to work together to figure it out. But really more like 60-40 where I'm the 60. And then the last thing is it also doesn't have Undead Unluck, which is the only one that I thought I wanted to add here that I thought was missing. But I appreciate the creation of it. Maybe it can be used for something else down the line, but I don't think for this. Because I do want to rank... I do want to do another tier list that involves multiple series. But don't want to do... Yeah, I don't think for power systems that would work. I like that there's a argument that's been going on that I don't really understand. It's from Mike Paradise and somebody else, but I don't know who he's arguing with. I don't know who he's arguing with. Gustavo, thanks for the 10. What are your opinions on Sakura's character and strength? Oh my god. Personally think they stagnated her development up until the very end just to focus on Naruto and Sasuke. You're just asking me to... I don't even feel that strongly about anything in Naruto. Because it was just never my series. It was a series that I followed in and out. I don't care that much about... Yeah, I don't think that with Sakura there was ever any... I thought it was weird that they tried to make her involved in the Kaguya fight when it really felt like she didn't belong, because it felt like she wasn't really a relevant character or nearly strong enough to be there for a long time. And then suddenly they're like, well, just for the sake of trying to make things come full circle, Team 7, whatever, we have to have her involved as well. She had some weird line about being a woman too to Kaguya. I'm like, why is this? It's a weird line to include here. Um, yeah, I think Sakura could have just been more. I just don't have a lot to say about her. I feel like she could have just been more of a character throughout the story and had more of a role, more agency. Um, but there's something that people forget with Sakura that I think is important to remember, which is if we look at so many of these other series, right? Um, you can say Sakura is a bad character, which I think she is. But if we look at so many of these other series, right? If we look at, let's say, um, uh, well, I'm not gonna get into it, but like, I think people would get nitpicky about certain things from certain series, but I do feel like the mold of having a trio of characters, like a trio of main characters that kind of um like a main character trio with like one that's kind of Naruto-ish, then one that's or like the main guy, then kind of like the dark-haired brooding counterpart, and then a female third, right? Um, that trio model, right? That has gotten fairly popular. I mean, you see it pop up more and more nowadays, right? With Jujutsu Kaisen, with Chainsaw Man. Um, I think that is a soft model that a lot of writers. I think you could even argue, in a sense, My Hero, but it's not the same because I would argue that My Hero is more like five. Well, whatever. It's like I do think that at least the idea of Sakura kind of became popular, and writers just wanted to do more with that trio model. But you get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Like the concept of being like, okay, we have the main character, then deuteragonist, and then a third character that's the female. That little trio concept, I think that did at least have some level of influence on following shonen. So, you know, Vihawk says like some sort of monster trio. No, the monster trio is not like that whatsoever. Monster trio is Luffy, Zoro, Sanji. So you could say like the inclusion of forced or shoehorned or not of like it's like the third most important character being a girl. I think that's something that maybe I don't know. I don't know. It's debatable. Okay, let's move on. Let's keep moving. All right. I don't even know where to put Titans because there's only, as far as I know, there's only like 7 Titans, but I'm not caught up to the end of the story. So it's just being a Titan. But it is cool. like let's put Titans in C. Let's put Titans in C because the Titans are cool, right? Aki is cool. Oh, he added Undead Unluck. Fine, I will do. Okay, well, how about we leave it up to chat? Do we want to do Remix Kings or this one? Remix King or stick with this one? It's up to you guys. If we go to the other one, I'm still gonna just be skipping pretty much everything that I don't know well. Stick with this one or go to Remix King. Oh, you guys can't see the tier list? Fuck, my bad. When I say this one, I'm talking about this one. What is Mike Paradise? Mike Paradise, what are you arguing? I'm curious. What is? I don't even know what's being argued here. This one is winning. So I think we're going to stick with this one. I think we're going to stick with this one. Wait. Let me show Remix Kings again. Here, let me pull these up again. Where is it? Okay, so he has the fair shot, right? So I'll do the poll one more time. So this one has more. Here are the benefits of each, right? Remix Kings has more. I think it has more that are not relevant that we wouldn't include, like Haikyuu, Kaguya-sama, and such. But it does have such that some that we. It has like, I think he said he added Undead Unluck or something like that, which we didn't have in the other one. Maybe I have to refresh this. Probably. Yeah, it has Undead Unluck. So it has a little bit more than we saw before. Either way, I'm not going to include ones that I don't know. So I don't know a lot of these, and I also think some of these aren't relevant. But then at the same time, yeah, it's a little bit more. It's more robust, so it also has like Avatar, which we can include. Yeah, so there's benefits to both. The other one's shorter. That's basically shorter, more compact. I think it has all the ones that I would like to talk about, except Undead Unluck. This one has more stuff that kind of expands the scope, but if we want to expand the scope, I'm down to. I'm still just going to skip the ones I don't want to talk about. All right, so we'll do it one more time. Oh, wait, let me... So this is option A. Okay, we'll say this is the Remix King one, and then this is the current one. All right, so those are the two options. Do the poll one more time. Which tier list? Current one. Tala says Morj really overthrowing our democratic process. I would prefer to do this one. I don't want to overthrow it. But then I felt bad because I was like, wait, I only showed this tier list. I should give them a refresher of the other one to make it fair, basically. So we can pick between the two. Remix King says, Morj, I removed the ones you said you didn't know. Oh, shit, did you? Oh, that does change things. Hold on. Let's take a look at this one more time. You're still losing the poll, but maybe it can be closer. We're looking at the Remix King one right now. Oh, it is tighter now. It is tighter. Okay, yeah, maybe we could do this one. You kept Kaguya. Don't know this. I should have been more clear. Don't know this. Magi I only barely know. Because I watched like Sinbad stuff. Toriko, I don't really know. I've read like a little bit of Toriko. Don't know what this is. Is this Hitman Reborn? Kagurabachi. Okay. I'm gonna refresh one more time. Let's see what we finally got. Let's see our final list. You didn't remove any. Okay. Remix King. Can I remove these? I don't think I can. I mean, I can just skip, but it would be nice if I didn't have to. I don't know Fate. Let's be clear. I don't know Fate. God of High School is just martial arts. I don't know Haikyuu. It's also just volleyball, so I don't want to rank it. Don't know Soul Eater. Like, I didn't read it. I feel like you didn't get rid of most of the ones. Okay. I'm gonna go with the other one. BrownieBot is saying, because people are still voting for that one, and BrownieBot is saying Morj, the other one is better because it separates things like Hockey and Devil Fruits. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the other one. I'm gonna roll with this one. We're also partway through this one, slightly. Okay. OG3 says God of High School is not just martial arts, LMAO. Isn't it just martial arts? From what I recall, it was martial arts. Okay. Vitor Mato says man hasn't watched Haikyuu to this day. False. Bring out the inner Dwight. I have watched 3 episodes of Haikyuu, and I think Haikyuu for me was the line. It was kind of the line where I realized, okay, I will give it a try one more time because everybody says it's. I've never heard somebody say Haikyuu's bad. I've heard some people say, oh, it's like overrated or like not the best thing ever, but I've never heard anyone say Haikyuu's bad, which is really rare. But Haikyuu for me was kind of the line where like with anime, you're always buying into something. Like you're buying into something. You know, you're buying into the concept of stands or devil fruits or like people really care about, you know, Black Clover, like I'm gonna be the Wizard King and stuff like that. Like you're buying into something that's to a degree silly, corny, right? At least shonen anime, right? You're buying into it, right? Haikyuu was kind of the limit for me because it was just like like I'm a couple episodes in and like it's like middle school volleyball or something like that. Like they're going to high school, right? But it's like the middle school volleyball team is playing this other volleyball team, and like there's this legendary middle school guy that they call the king of the court, and it's already kind of like, oh my god, the king of the court is arriving, the legendary king of the court. So it's already like, okay, this is corny. And it's like, okay, what does the king of the court do? And it's like, okay, so his thing is his thing is setting the volleyball. It's just going this. That's the king of the court. So it's just he's the guy that does this. You know? So that's and he's apparently so good at doing this that they call him the king of the court. Later on you find out, I think like episode 2 or 3, that like he's actually called the king of the court because the way he does this is actually, it's so arrogant the way that he places this ball. Oh my god, he's like the king of the court. Like it was actually they were saying it derisively this entire time, but it's still, either way, it's too ridiculous for me to wrap my head. I'm like, oh my god, they're really animating the fuck out of this. Like this dude who does this, he's the biggest fucking it's like, yeah, he sets the ball. At least if he was a dude that like spiked it or something like that, I could understand. Or if like he was, I don't know, like something like he hits with perfect technique or like is the fastest on the court or something. But it's like, no, this dude, one, he's really tall. That's what they say. He's not that tall. I'm taller than that guy. And then 2, he does this, and that's his legendary king of the court thing. I couldn't take, yeah, it's like Dripty Sauce is the modder of volleyball. I was like, I can't take this seriously. I'm like, if anybody sees me watching this that's not also an anime fan, I can't do this. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Anyway. Oswald Kimmy says, bro, he's in middle school. I sure, but then I'm like, why am I watching a show that's about this middle school that's like his abilities being really tall for middle school? Like, I don't get it. There was another thing that I saw out of context, and I get that it's probably not that good because it's out of context, but like it was like a clip from way later in the show where someone throws a ball in the air or something like that, and then the orange hair Hinata, he runs up and then he jumps up and catches the ball or something like that, and then all the comments are freaking out. This is not during a volleyball game. They're just walking around outside. And then he throws the ball up, and then Hinata runs up and then jumps up and he catches the ball or something like that. And all the comments are freaking out about like, this is like the greatest moment in like Haikyuu history or something, or like, oh my god, the chills I got or something. Like people are freaking out. I'm like, yeah, this show it's not for me. It's just not for me. people are like, this is the nothing happened moment. I asked my chat this at the time that I saw it. This was like probably last year or something like that. So this conversation has come before, and I think somebody was like, yeah, that was like the nothing happened moment of Haikyuu, and I was like, cool. So I'm not gonna watch this. Like, I'm not against sports anime, because when I was younger, I read Prince of Tennis, but I was just a dumb high school kid, and I was just like reading whatever, and I like played tennis from time to time back then. So it was like, yeah, this is dumb, but like it's also not that serious. And then flip side, I've watched like Ping Pong the anime, and Ping Pong is much more artistically done, and it's, you know, it leans into these legendary level of ping pong skill and stuff like that, but it's more, you feel like you're watching something, I don't know, a little less, maybe it's just the art style that's drawing me in or something like that with that there. But with Haikyuu, I believe it's good. I promise you guys, everyone's saying that I'm dumb, I don't know anything, but like I just don't know anything, but I get it. I believe that Haikyuu is good because everybody says it's good. I've never seen anybody shit talk Haikyuu. I just couldn't. It was like 3 episodes in, I was just like, it was like one thing on top of another on top of another. It's like they keep praising this guy, the king of the court. I was like, this is so anime ridiculous, right? Like in other series, when people get these titles and stuff, you're at least in an anime verse. So it's like, oh my god, Hawkeye's Mihawk, like the legendary whatever. Like they're titles, it feels like it carries some meaning. It's just like, this is a middle school level competition, and they're treating this guy like he's fucking LeBron James, but like even LeBron does, like even LeBron's not like being worshipped as like the literal like the king is just like a nickname, but like here they're just like, oh my god, that guy's aura, the king of the court and stuff like that. This middle school guy walking around who's like slightly taller than other middle schoolers, or maybe tall in Japan, I don't know. This dude walking around, you find out what his ability is. His ability is going like this. It's like, holy shit. I don't know, man. I can't get that image out of my head of like just me realizing that like this king of the court that they're taking so seriously, like he's just the dude that does this, which Haikyuu fans and volleyball fans I'm sure can explain to me is like the most godly important thing. Like the show even breaks it down. It's like, no, this might seem dumb, but like it's actually really important because of blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I ignored everything you said after actually. Anyway, Yusuf says LeBron does get worshipped, LMAO. Yeah, but not literal, like not literally, like they're literally like, this guy is our king, like this guy is the king of the court. Like it's not people are like walking around like LeBron's literally an anime character. It's like, yeah, King James, that's his cool title, but it's not literally like that. Tell that to Shannon Sharp. No, obviously LeBron has stands and stuff like that, but nobody's treating him like an anime character. Like here, there's a middle school kid walking around and everyone's just like, the king of the court, the king of the court. They treat him more like LeBron James there than like even LeBron James is treated outside in the real world. Anyway, Andrew Anami says, Morj, you got Chocho just like your friend LMAO. All I gotta ask is like, does that guy's special ability at some point stop being going like this, right? Does he? Is it still that? Because then I can't watch that show. I don't think. I think it'll be very difficult. Wade Turner says, yes, they do. No, I could pull up the first episode of Haikyuu. There's no point that you would like. It is clearly animatized, over dramatized version of like how LeBron is called king. Yeah, people worship LeBron. Yeah. But there's a difference between that versus like treating someone like they're fucking Madara Uchiha or something like that. That's different. That's not really. An ostrich says Morse just thinks volleyball is easy. No, I just think that like there's no way that like things can be difficult. I understand that doing this is difficult. I can believe that. But I'm never going to think doing this is cool. And like that's a really cool ability that warrants being called the king of the court or being treated like you're like Whitebeard or some shit. Aether, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 8 months. iShield 21 is the non-combat sports series to read. Drawn by Murata. Give it the old college try. If I ever try something like that, it'll be like Hajime no Ippo. That's basically it. Alright guys, let's keep going. Spade says it's not an ability, it's just his position. Alright, so if he's doing that for the entire series, I don't know. Just can't get behind it. Minfat says Morj just thinks volleyball is lame, which is fair enough. No, I mean, I think that any sports anime that animatize it, like anime, like again, with everything here, we're leaning into like the corniness of shonen, right? But at least it's like the world is on the line and characters have superpowers and all this like crazy stuff. Like you can at least make yourself believe. You can buy, like, there's levels of suspension of disbelief to buy into something. With sports anime, it's the same thing, but it's literally just kids playing volleyball in an empty gym room. So it's like they act the same and they talk the same and hype things up the same as though it's like this crazy ass shit. And it's just as over the top and ridiculous and anime-esque and over dramatized. But I'm just looking at some fucking kids playing volleyball in an empty gym. So it's just like the suspension of disbelief, it's like a whole nother level of it. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, all right. It's kind of like when with like Yu-Gi-Oh, like the joke was like, "Oh my god, they're getting so into it over just playing card games and stuff like that." And it's like, you know what? Yeah, it is kind of ridiculous that they're getting so into it. But at the very least, like with Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like at least giant monsters are being summoned and they're playing in this giant floating arena in the sky. And, we find out that some of these cards have supernatural effects, and there are supernatural objects, and this goes back to ancient Egypt, magic and stuff like that. Like, even with the card games, like, just kids playing card games and stuff like that, the anime-esque, like, animatization, I'm just making up that word, by the way, but I'm using it. The over-dramatization, the anime ridiculousness of it or whatever, it's like, it is just kids playing card games at the end of the day, but there is some level of stakes and stuff to it. This is just like, they're not even like, there's nothing. It's just like, we're treating this like this is like Goku versus Frieza or like, something like that, like Luffy versus the world government. It's like, it's just volleyball. It's too many levels deep. It's like, if we're making fun of the kids playing card game stuff over there, then what, like, at least that's actually for the fate of the world in some sense. This is just nothing. That's my thing with it. That's why I can't get behind Haikyuu at all. It's like, I had to turn my brain off a lot just to be able to enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! For this, it's like 4 levels extra. You get what I'm saying? Anyway. I still believe Haikyuu's really, really good. I'm not saying it's worse than... I'm sure the writing is phenomenal. I'm sure the character stuff is phenomenal. I'm just explaining why the basic premise of the show is hard to get into and take seriously. Like, because the suspension of disbelief is just... It's too far. Anyway, Pat Galley, thanks for the 20. Morj, 90% of the people in chat who watch Haikyuu are the same people who cry when you talk about sports. They don't know / play sports in real life, so it's easy to suspend disbelief. That is a good point. I watched 2 seasons with my ex, and it was so ass, my god. Okay, we don't have to insult Haikyuu because, again, I don't know if it's good or not. I'm just explaining why. I'm just explaining why it's hard for me to get in there. Okay, that's it. But that is an interesting perspective. Alright, guys. Let's move. The reason I'm saying the animatization is because I'm just like, what's a word for like animating something? Like a normal situation, but you animate it. Animatize? It's not a real word. But anyway. Okay, let's move on. Haikyuu is not making the list. Alright, Alchemy. I thought Alchemy's cool. I'm going to give Alchemy a solid A. I think Alchemy's cool. Didn't get too complicated with the rules, but things have consequences and shit. And there's some nice niche uses of Alchemy. And you get a little bit of variety in there. I liked Alchemy. Stans, I'm going to go ahead and put an S. Does anybody have any debate for Stans being an S or not S? Dramatization is the word. That's the correct word. But I'm trying to get across the, like, over-dramatization. I'm trying to get across, like, there's that specific style of over-dramatization that is unique to anime. Where it's just, like, people freaking out over the most minor things or, like, talking themselves in like deep long soliloquies over the most minor shit. And I'm just like, what is the word for that? What is that? S stands for stands? Yeah. We're gonna get to, I think we're actually at some good stuff. Okay, let's move it around. Let's get to some stuff in the middle. What would be a B tier thing? What falls in B tier? What falls in B tier? I feel like I want to put quirks in B tier. How do people feel about that? Quirks is kind of fun though, right? Okay. There's different ways you can look at a power system. I don't like most of the quirks that exist. I just think that because I've given My Hero a shot for a while. I think that just the powers that characters have don't really seem that interesting to me. Um, I understand that there's some more interesting ones that come along down the line. Devil fruits are B. I think devil fruits are a solid B. But do you think devil fruits are A or not? Okay? Do we think Chris HD? Thanks for the 2. You want a more grounded sports manga? Try Slam Dunk. I've heard Slam Dunk is good. It's just I'm probably not gonna try a sports series outside of Hajime no Ippo anytime soon, just because it's like I don't know. There's something a little bit extra about the sports series. I don't know. Quirks are B or C? I feel like quirks are okay. Does alchemy belong in A? Let's start with that. I think devil fruits could maybe go higher. Alchemy. I think alchemy is A or B. I'll throw in C as an option. I don't think it's S. Ashita no Joe. I've heard good things about that too. People like alchemy in A. Yeah, you know what's interesting about alchemy? I think alchemy is it's one of those abilities that's I like it because it's one of those abilities that's written pretty deeply into the story's themes and ideas. Like it's intertwined very very well. And I think alchemy plays a role in a lot of the significant like it's not just the you can go a few episodes in and you've got like the Chimera moment, right? Which I won't expand upon, but um, there's so many moments in the story that are not fighting related, but just actually character or plot oriented or theme oriented that alchemy plays a big part in. So I think it deserves a spot here. Tala says devil fruits are bad since hockey negates its creative usage. I don't want to go that far. I think devil fruits are really cool. I think devil fruits are really cool. One of the things that I'll always say about devil fruits that I think is phenomenal on Oda's part is like a lot of the fruits that we know, especially early on in the story, were really really odd or simple or basic abilities that Oda was able to stretch into a huge variety of different abilities, if that makes sense. Like just that woman that you like Miss Doublefinger, her spike fruit, like she used that in a million different ways, right? She used that to buff herself, like getting steroids. She used it as projectiles to create clubs, to do all sorts of things. You just see, I don't know, I feel like Wapol can eat lots of things, right? Which is a silly ability, but then we see how he can eat lots of things, turn himself into a factory, slim himself up, beef himself up. He could eat a whole armory and turn into like a weapon of mass destruction, which you never get to see. I feel like devil fruits are like a lot of the abilities are really like on the surface one-dimensional or simple, but Oda really stretches everything that they can do, which I think is pretty cool. So I like devil fruits a lot for that reason. Yeah, I like devil fruits a lot for that reason. And I think some concepts, like I think mythical zones are some of the coolest things that Oda's come up with, just because I know many people's favorite devil fruit reveal was when we first saw Marco turn into a phoenix at Marineford. One of the most iconic, maybe not most iconic, but one of the greatest, like, most hype moments in One Piece in recent memory that I can recall was Kaido showing up in dragon form at the start of Wano. I think, like, let's not let, I don't know. Tala says half the devil fruits in the show are just roundabout stats boosts. That's true, but I think you could say the same about, well, not stands, but some, I don't know. Devious says hockey was created just for Logia and non-devil fruit users to compete. Yeah, I think the trickiness with devil fruits is that it might just feel less impactful over time because hockey exists, right? Like Big Mom. Big Mom has such a interesting ability on the like her devil fruit ability is really really cool and creative, right? She can bring everything to life. Like she uses souls, takes souls, puts souls into other things to bring them to life. She can bring islands to life. She can bring tsunamis to life. She can bring the weather to life. She can do so much. And then if you look at her fights still end up being mostly physical combat with, some fire and lightning thrown in. Right? That was the majority for fight with Law, her fight with Kaido. That's basically what it comes down to. Because ultimately, the Devil Fruits have become more so accessories to just extreme physical combat strength and haki, right? Obviously, on the flip side, Kid and Law were able to beat her because they relied on their Devil Fruits and their Devil Fruit variety, so it still matters for sure. But at the end of the day, it's like, I feel like we didn't really get to see the most out of Big Mom's Fruit on the one hand. I don't know. I think it's, it's just complicated. It's like, you got Aokiji fighting Garp, and then quickly becomes clear that Aokiji can't actually freeze Garp. And then so the fight becomes Aokiji putting on, just like making ice gloves to box with Garp with haki. So it's tricky because I know Oda, he prefers the physical combat over the Devil Fruit effects. It's like ultimately the haki and physical combat matters more. And it makes sense because if you go all the way back to the start of the story, the three main fighters that Oda wrote into the series are all just physical combat fighters, like Luffy, Zoro, Sanji. Luffy has a Devil Fruit, but it's a pure physical combat Devil Fruit, right? So for the vast majority of the story, like, villains have their own special abilities and tricks and such, but it always has to come down to fisticuffs and direct physical combat. So Devil Fruits are a great concept, and I think some Devil Fruits are extremely cool and creative, like Big Mom's Fruit, Phoenix Fruit, Paw Fruit, Doflamingo's Fruit. Like, you've got so many great Devil Fruits in One Piece. Law's Fruit. Yeah, the creativity with Devil Fruits is really high. It's just, it doesn't play as big of a role over time due to haki. So I don't know. How do where do we want to put Devil Fruits? Non Sequitur says haki is amazing with the themes of the story, but not great logically / in isolation. I think just the depictions of haki and how Oda chooses to make us understand when it's being used, and when Oda chooses to have characters make it clear that they're using it. Is Power Vision in here? I'm seeing some people say Power Vision. I don't even see Power Vision. Where's he at? For some reason, I thought I saw someone say that. Yeah, I want to put Devil Fruits higher. I mean, I could see it A or B. I don't think C, I don't think S. So I'm not going to give those options. We can always change it as time goes on if we feel like it doesn't belong. People are saying A. A is way too high. Here's the thing. I think that I feel like, because now I'm looking and I'm like, if we move this here, I'm cool with having Devil Fruits in the same tier as Alchemy. But I think that Spiritual Pressure is clearly better than either of these two. Because just the ideas that come out of Bleach is, I think Bleach can get convoluted, especially with like Ichigo's powers. And I think Bleach definitely leaves a lot on the cutting room floor with, like, you know, like the Quincy's used to, like, we used to associate Quincy's with using certain abilities, but then in Thousand Year Blood War, a lot of those are thrown away, and it's like, here are these all new things that they use, and they don't use that other old stuff. I think it can get a little messy. I think even other stuff like like Shinigami use Shunpo, but Arrancar use Sonido, which are exactly the same fucking thing, but then they talk about it like it's two totally different abilities. It's like, oh, that's you do that, well, we do this. It's like, you guys are doing the same fucking, what are you even talking about? Anyway, so there's lots of weird stuff with Bleach, like too many ideas that seem irrelevant. But man, Bleach's Bankai system, like that alone, It's so like it's up there, right? Like who doesn't get it? Who doesn't get hype when a new Bankai is revealed? I think Bankai is one of the most hype just power ups or transformations in anime manga history. Like it's just anytime a character reveals is like Bankai, even if you think it's like okay, this might be an ass Bankai because it's like fucking we're looking at Kensei or Renji or something like that. Like you're still excited to a degree, and so many Bankais are just really really creative ideas, right? Like I'm gonna go as far as to say that out of every single, to me, just the phrase, and I've shit on Bleach plenty of times in the past, so this is like I'm not coming from oh I'm a huge Bleach stan type of thing. I just think that the phrase Bankai is cooler for like it's just cool. Like I'm more hype when I hear a character say Bankai than pretty much anything else here, right? There's just nothing quite like a character being like, okay, Bankai, and then chapter ends, and then you're excited to find out what happens next chapter, you know? There's nothing else quite like that. Like, I'm not like, oh, Sage Mode, okay, that's that, or like, Domain Expansion, that's that, or like, Mana Zone, or like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I think Bankai is pretty, I don't know. Yusuf says Morj thinks Bleach greater than Naruto, so not surprised. No, I think Naruto's better than Bleach by a good shot. Long shot. And I think that there's nothing, not long, I don't know. I think maybe Thousand Year Blood War is really, really great for its ending or something like that. I don't know, but Thousand Year Blood War is hard to explain because I'm loving the anime, but not for the writing. It's not for the writing at all. It's just visually beautiful, atmospherically amazing. The fights are cool. That's it. Visually beautiful, great atmosphere, feels very artistically done. Fights are amazing. That's it, right? I'm not putting Bleach above Naruto personally, writing wise, but I'm saying that's what Bleach does really well. I think you guys don't think Bankai belongs up here in S? You guys don't think Bankai belongs up here in S? Super Saiyan, we don't even count. Okay, Super Saiyan, if you want to count Super Saiyan, yes, Super Saiyan trumps Bankai, but it's just, it's so, like, it's more iconic, obviously more iconic. I'm just saying what's cooler. At this point, like, I don't think Super Saiyan's that cool, because it's been a thing for, like, it's so old school, except, I don't know. To me, it's just that Bankai is the coolest sort of final power-up or transformation that characters pull out. Does that make sense? You guys are gonna put Bankai in the same tier as Alchemy? Like, what Alchemy stuff is as cool as some of the like Bankais are like? Has anyone seen Shuten Maru's Bankai? Has anyone seen Kyoraku's? Like, am I crazy here? Like, there's some really 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 interesting stuff. Like, Alchemy's cool, but at the end of the day, Roy Mustang snapping his fingers, it's not really the same thing, right? Agenda Pirate, thanks for the 5. Underrating Titans, incredibly unique. Nothing else even comes close. Hardening, pros and cons of each, like endurance, armor, size, path connections, etc. Okay, we'll come back to Titans. I could see the argument. Maurice Alonso says cool doesn't make it a good power system, it's just cool. No, but it also makes for much more interesting fights. Like, Bleach fights are better than Full Metal Alchemist fights, I think, by a good shot as well, right? I don't think that should be controversial. You get, in my opinion, you get much more interesting Bleach fights, even if they're kind of silly at certain points. But I don't really think of Full Metal Alchemist when I think of iconic fights either, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are the best fights in Full Metal Alchemist? They're good fights, like, that are fun, but it's not really like the usual multi-episode long, like, lots of, I don't know, like, they're shorter fights. I don't think it's quite the same. Blob Clock says, is this more combat or concept? Both. So basically, what's the concept? How well thought out is the system? Like, the rules, how consistently, etc. Right? And does it make for good, interesting fights that rely on the power system? You know? No, I'm not saying that there's not good fights, but it's just like, do they compare to Bleach fights, which show much greater variety of abilities over the course of fights, tend to have much more extensive back and forths to the point of comedy at points. But you get what I'm saying? Like, okay, we can do a poll. Let's do a poll for it. But I don't know if I'll abide by the rules of the poll. By the, sorry, the outcome of the poll. Like, to me, it's just, if I'm reading a Bleach fight versus watching a Full Metal Alchemist fight, I think the Full Metal Alchemist fight is a lot more basic in terms of what's going to happen over the course of that battle. Because Bleach is just, there's a lot more to it. Okay, we can do another tier. Let's do another tier. Fine. SS. What color do we make this? But I like the... No, we got to change the whole thing. Hold on. Because I like the colors following a certain format. Alright, seems like A wins, so don't worry. Well, it's going to go in S because it's going to go above Full Metal Alchemist, but it's not going to top tier, so don't worry about that. Okay, we're doing SS, S, A, B, C, and D from here on. Alright. Alright. You guys want an N? We'll put an N up here. Alright, we'll put an N up there. We'll do a vote at the end what people like best. Key. Key is the classic. I think Key's the classic. I think you just put Key here. Because it's cool for what it was, what it started, but it's, you know, it's the basic, it's just 101 at this point, right? I saw an argument for quirks should be higher. That quirks should be higher. I don't know about that. Should quirks be higher? Or not quirks should be higher. Titans should be higher. Titans should be up here. I don't know about that. I agree that there's like variances among the Titans, but that's like the basic thing that you would need, right? Key is D. You want Key here? Alright, we'll put Key in D. We'll put Key there. Alright, Chakra. This is going to be controversial. Okay, Chakra is not S. That's guaranteed. It's not S. So it's maybe either it's either A, B, A or B. Maybe it's A. Is Chakra better than Devil Fruits? I don't know, maybe. Yeah, Chakra is more thought out. Like, there's much more to Chakra. Maybe I'm underestimating Chakra. Maybe Chakra should be up here. Should Chakra be this high? I think I was just underestimating it in my head. I'm seeing lots of S's, A's, B's, etc. Let's try and remove any Naruto, anti-Naruto bias, because I feel like that can afflict One Piece fans frequently, myself included. But, like, Chakra has a lot going for it, right? There's a lot of stuff. It encompasses so much is the tricky thing. It's like, because what's funny is that you talk about power systems, right? You could ignore 80% of Chakra and just be like, okay, let's just talk Sharingan or like Aijutsu, right? Let's just talk Aijutsu. Rinnegan, Sharingan, Byakugan. Byakugan. Let's just talk that. That could just be its own power system in itself, and that would already be a pretty complicated power system. The question is it good? Do we like it? I think it belongs here. Chakra can't be lower than spiritual pressure. Yeah, I could see that. I think maybe I was I think I was forgetting. Because Naruto, you can have so many interesting fights with chakra. I think it became more DBZ towards the end. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. I think most people would agree. But you can read like any singular Shikamaru battle and be like, yeah, that clearly puts it in a category that's above, anything in category A. I'll put it here. I'm not going to put it in SS. Okay, we'll do a poll. I'll throw SS as an option. But I'll give you guys a wide range of options here. Yeah, it does become glorified ki later. I don't think it belongs in SS, but I think we were definitely overrating alchemy by quite a bit early on, because I just don't think it makes for that great fights over time. I think alchemy's strength is more so how it plays into the writing of the story. Not to say that Fullmetal Alchemist doesn't have good fights, but it doesn't have the same level of creativity in the back and forths of abilities that you would see in like a chakra, like in certain Naruto battles, especially earlier on, or just the uniqueness of abilities and such that you see in Bleach and the combinations that you can get in fights with that. I think it belongs here. Okay, S seems right for it. Cool, let's move on. Limiters. This isn't a real thing. This is only a thing that applies to like literally just one character. It's not even fair to say that's the power system of One Punch Man, right? Because it really only applies to Saitama, right? King, some would say in theory or something like that. It's not the power system of One Punch Man. I think One Punch Man's power system is basically non-existent. It's just the power system of One Punch Man is the same as the power system of any random comic book verse, which is like random characters have random abilities for random reasons. It's like, oh, I'm a lab experiment. Oh, I work out a lot. Oh, I have psychic powers. It's just random. I don't think there's much to this. Characters just fight. That's it. Most fights are just, I don't know. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. Now we're getting to the tricky stuff. Breathing styles. Wait. Oh, I didn't realize Reiatsu and spiritual pressure were two separate things. What the fuck? Okay, somebody fucked up when they did this, so this will just be separate. We'll call it Reiatsu. I feel like Reiatsu's the better term, because we're weebs. Alright. We'll see Reiatsu, even though it's the same thing, right? Yeah, you know what? It's okay, we're gonna add a row below. And that'll be where limiters go. What's the last color we used? Okay, this will be light blue. Okay. Agenda Pirate, thanks for the 5. Even in late Naruto, you get stuff like Sasuke throwing Naruto as a shuriken, then swapping places to put Momoshiki in chains. Incredibly creative. Yeah, that's true. Chakra, not that these are ranked within tiers, but you could argue Chakra should be above Reiatsu. No, because you can still get cool. I think Kishimoto's better at writing strategic fights than. Okay, a lot of it is like how good the writer is at writing a fight with the system they have, right? Because Kishimoto is better at writing strategic fights. He's better at writing strategic fights. Bleach, I feel like there's usually not much strategy. It's more like the strategy is, it turns out my ability is conveniently the perfect counter to yours. So we'll vote up here later down the line. We'll vote up here. This is not ordered in tiers or anything like that. It's not ordered in tiers. If you guys want me to have Nen first, I'll put Nen first. I'm more so thinking, should this be... No, we agreed this belongs in S, right? I just know that I know Bleach's abilities should be above Alchemy and Devil Fruits. I feel like we might have overrated Alchemy. It's good for... Again, the way it plays into plot, character stuff, themes is great. I think it's fine where it is. I think alchemy's fine where it is. Tala, thanks for the 279. Move key up. At least we know when it's being used. I almost wanted to make that argument, but I'm just like, no. Like, we're not going to. Yeah. I'm never like, man, is he using Super Saiyan right now or not? With hockey, I am. Not that there's a Super Saiyan, but it's just like the equivalent, which is Advanced Conquerors hockey. I'm going to keep it here. Tala says, nah, we overrated devil fruits. Devil fruits should maybe be with quirks. I think devil fruits should maybe be with quirks. We'll keep it A. Yeah, we'll put devil fruits with quirks, because I'm thinking like, what really makes devil fruits better than quirks? I just think what I think is cool about devil fruits is that I said I think like 10 times. What I think is cool about devil fruits is just that a lot of them are really simple. I feel like with quirks, sometimes it'll be like a character has a simple quirk and they basically do simple things with it for the most part, you know? Like, you have a character, let me think, Red Riot, right? Like, his quirk is being able to harden his body. For the most part, he does things with that ability that make sense with that ability. With devil fruits, I feel like, especially pre-time skip, a character could have a devil fruit ability that seems simple, but then the character has like a million different ways that they use it that almost don't even seem to make sense with that ability. But the abilities can seem simple and then have like a million variations to them that I think really expand what you think of the utility of a single devil fruit. I think I see that more in One Piece than I do in My Hero personally, but maybe I'm not remembering correctly, or maybe I'm being unfair there. You know what I mean? Doflamingo and Law, I mean, Doflamingo account, yeah, like Doflamingo has a string fruit. In theory, the string fruit, you just produce strings, but Oda really likes to expand on those concepts a lot to make them do a million things that don't really, you can understand why they fit into the category of that fruit, but it's very outside the box thinking, and I think that's why I appreciate devil fruits a lot. Yeah, the Gomu Gomu no Mi initially, just the idea of doping with it. I don't think that's something I've ever seen thought of with rubber powers in any other context. So I put devil fruits above quirks personally. So I feel like I'm going to keep devil fruits here. I feel like they should be above. Brian, thanks for the 5. Stands are too high. As a system, not unique. Random powers, same as Devil Fruit or X-Men. I disagree that... No, because... Okay. I get what you're saying there. They're random powers. 90% random convoluted ability. We find out on the fly. It's only creative. You're right. But at the end of the day, does that make for... So, stands is one of those things... I feel like Araki, as a writer in general, he's not a very structured writer at all. So he's loose with a million different aspects of storytelling. And it even affects his power system too, right? But at a certain point, I feel like stands almost fall into a separate category in my head, because at the end of the day, the final product that we get is wildly entertaining to many people, maybe not to you, but the concept of just, okay, we can have this power system which is absolute free flow, and each fight creates new rules. Basically, so if you look at most of these power systems, right, like Nen is a set of rules, right? Nen is a set of rules. Cursed Energy is a set of rules. Stands are basically each fight you deal with a new set of rules, and you try and fight in the context, in the framework of that set of rules. Does that make sense? So it's not just, it's not just like X-Men or Devil Fruit abilities where it's like, oh, this new guy is fire guy or something like that. Each fight presents a new layout of rules. So it's almost like you're dealing with not a new power system, but just a new, I don't know, you're dealing with a very, very usually creative new framework every single fight. And when you create a power system that's built on the idea that every fight is going to be its own unique framework of rules, I think that that is still, you could say that it's a poorly structured power system overall, but it lends itself to what some would say is the most consistently fun battles in a series with the most variety and most options for strategy. I think it deserves its spot here. Because sometimes it's like, okay, the best system turns out to be arguably the one with the least structure to it. Two opposite ends of the spectrum here between Nen and Stans, but they both have their own strengths. All right. Yeah, Cursed Energy. I'm about ready. Like, we should move this along, right? I'm about ready to put it up into SS, unless people have some great arguments against it, some issues. I think most everything you can say about Cursed Energy critique can also be applied to Nen. I think that I think that Nen is much better and more carefully pieced together because foundational ideas are laid, then we deal with those foundational ideas, then maybe next arc a new set of foundational ideas are laid, etc., then you build. Cursed Energy, I feel like a lot of explanation is done dirtier, which is just new rules, new rules, new rules, new rules, with very little time taken to actually lay foundation, maybe spend some time establishing this, seeing this in practice. It's kind of just like, this is a domain, and now this is domain's a thing, and then domains work with barriers, by the way, which we didn't explain initially when we explained domains, but they do. Barriers you guys have seen before, but they're tied to domains and stuff, and also there's domain amplification, but also there's simple domains, which is just a way to get around the rules of stuff. Like, a lot of it's thrown at the wall very quickly. However, I do think that Jujutsu Kaisen does a better job than Nen at still keeping earlier parts of its rule system relevant later on, whereas I think that Nen really doesn't. It does to a degree, but I know that at one point I was watching some earlier episodes of Hunter x Hunter where certain parts of Nen were explained, and I'm like, that almost never comes up later. This is pretty much irrelevant. This almost never comes up again, or if it comes up again, it's rare. Certain things are static and definitely are still relevant, like, Zetsu is a huge part of the current arc, for example, but I do think that whereas Hunter x Hunter did a better job building its power system, I think Jujutsu Kaisen does a better job being annoyingly consistent with, like, bringing up its own rules. I think it over-explains its stuff quite a bit. I think it goes into, especially the big fight that just happened that everyone was talking about, a lot of it was just, like, reiterating and reminding the reader of, like, rules that were previously established, because, again, a lot of it's thrown at the wall quickly, right? But I think it, like, those are the contrasting strengths, I would say there. One definitely did a better job slowly building and creating a framework. This one really throws together a framework very fast and dirty, but it is a complicated framework, and I do think that it keeps most of it in mind, almost to its own detriment, because it requires so much fucking talking and exposition just to get through a battle. So I'm gonna keep it here. People who like Nen but don't like Cursed Energy, I still think you just gotta look at the fight that just happened. The fight that just happened, I mean, 15-20 chapter battle or whatever, like, it's something that can only work with you can't have a fight with that much back and forth and strategic shifts and stuff like that without an SS tier power system. You just can't. Like, you can't do something. You could do that with Bleach, but it would just be bullshit of, like, a character being like, you thought my Shikai was this, but now it's this, and it's like, my Bankai is this, but it turns out to be this, etc. And with Naruto, that's never happened. Any long fight it has, it's not pure strategy or, like, whatever. Like, a lot of it is just, it devolves into, as people say, just DBZ on a large scale and like Ki Blast and stuff like that. This fight that Jujutsu Kaisen just did, I used to be more critical. Like if you go back and watch earlier streams, I was more critical of Cursed Energy, but you just can't pull off a fight that long with that many back and forths and shifts in strategy and tricks and clever turnarounds or whatever. You can't do that without something like this. You just can't. I think that it's undebate. Basically, if you're arguing it's less, like, you can't put it in the same category as fucking Bankai's or, like, whatever the fuck Naruto turned into by the end. I think that that's just unfair to it. I think it definitely belongs here. I think people like Hunter x Hunter a lot better, so people are going to be a little more biased towards Nen, but I think it belongs here for sure. Anyway, let's move on. Magical power. Not super familiar with Seven Deadly Sins. I've only seen it really in bits and pieces. As far as I can tell, it's just they have magical power. Like, they have magical powers. Some of them have been gifted certain abilities. You guys tell me where does it go? Javon Johnson, thanks for the 2. Hey Morj, I think you missed my super a while back. I am so sorry. Let me double check. Let me see if I've been missing anything. Japanese Jim did just say Kaku pasta machine makes devil fruits a minimum. Devil fruits will stay in A. Let me see what Javon Johnson said. Oh, I did miss this. Thanks for the 5, man. Hey Morj, how would you feel about a Davy backfight between Yonko on Laughdale for the One Piece? I believe they'll all be there. I feel like Davy backfight, I think it's more likely to me that it could happen at Elbaf simply because Shanks is there, but I might be wrong. Also, watch out for tomorrow's video because I do talk about something very related to that. People are saying C or D. Let's let people vote. Don't let your opinion of the series itself guide your choice, because I know Seven Deadly Sins is not beloved by most people. Okay. Fierin Malazor says, I don't know how you can take something as ambiguous as magic and still make it lame. That's funny. That's funny. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and put magical power in D. But this is similar. Grimoires, I think I like Grimoires. I mean, I know people hate Black Clover. I'm not a Black Clover hater. Granted, I have not read much of the recent arc, so I've fallen off this year. But like, I enjoyed it at first just as some junk food, like feel good stuff. But I grew to feel, I don't know. I found the characters endearing past a certain point. I found it fun. I don't think Black Clover's powers. I think it's at least B. I like it. I find it more fun than Quirks, because I don't know. There's just something I don't like about Quirks, which is that a lot of the abilities feel very, I don't know, like there's very few Quirk abilities that feel cool to me. I kind of want to put this here, but I feel like people will get mad at me. So I feel like we can do a vote. I'm okay with putting it here, but I like Grimoire stuff. Grimoire is Black Clover's power system, basically. I don't know. It's basic. It's like if Seven Deadly Sins is like, I don't know. It's just magic. People have fire abilities, water abilities, etc. But a lot of the abilities I think are pretty cool, like bringing paintings to life, taking characters into a dream world where your imagination is your power. I think that there's a lot of cool abilities. And then some stuff like dimension slashes, stuff like that. I think there's some cool stuff. I want to keep it here, but people are going to get mad because they don't like Black Clover and they're going to make me push it down. Agenda Pirate, thanks for the 5. Please read the most recent Jujutsu Kaisen fight. Can't spoil, but it'd make a very interesting Gear 5th comparison video. That's cool. There was a lot of takes about it on Twitter. I think I saw one thing about that, but I didn't really understand. Oh, people like it? I'm seeing the comments now. People like it? People like it? Am I allowed to put it up high? Can I put it up? Can I put it up high? I thought people hate Black Clover so much that they'd like shit on me for trying to put it at like anywhere high, but I like it. I'm seeing some S's. All right, I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna put some votes in. All right, cool, cool, cool. All right, if I'm allowed to put it higher, I don't know if it's like S, but I think it's at least A. All right, I don't think it's. I don't know, but I wouldn't mind putting it in S. I think I would put it around here, but I'll let the people vote. People love Black Clover? Wasn't Black Clover like the most mocked manga for a while? It was like, you know how Kagurabachi was mocked for being too wannabe edgy? Black Clover was mocked for being too, like, just too cheesy, corny Naruto feel good, whatever. Like a parody of Naruto practically. Um, okay, it seems like A's winning, but it seems like A's winning. I'm cool with putting it in A. I like it there. Because at the end of the day, I don't think it gets as creative or cool as Bankai's personally. And, Chakra gets to some really... It lends itself to some really interesting battles, I think, that are more nuanced than Black Clover fights. But the abilities that you get in Black Clover, there's a great variety of them. Grizzly Adams, thanks for the 2. Zatch Bell did magic books better. Yeah, I'll say this about Black Clover, which is I see the abilities called Grimoire. I honestly don't remember the grimoires themselves being that relevant. Like, I know that they have books that their spells are technically contained in, but I never am thinking like, oh boy, like this is like they're mostly flying at each other, hitting each other, shooting stuff at each other. I'm not really thinking about the book. Umer Ula, thanks for the 2. Any predictions for chapter 1100? Dragon chapter? ? But you mean Dragon in the modern day, or what do you mean? Because we just had Dragon in 1099, and like the chapter before that, and like the chapter before that, right? So you mean we're cutting back to the modern day? I don't think we. What I would like to see would be this chapter keep us roughly at Egghead and get to see a bit more of Kizaru, Sentamaru, Vegapunk, Kuma, Bonnie, those bonds forming. I would like to see some of that. And then maybe next chapter, big tragedy, or by the end of this chapter, big tragedy. But I don't want to cut back to the present just yet. I think it's too early to me. Yeah, we're gonna keep this here. Okay, we're gonna try and move this along a little bit. Okay, speaking of magic, let's knock off the last magic one. Fairy Tail. I want to put this here. I don't really remember super creative magic abilities from Fairy Tail, but I feel like there were some that I'm just not recalling. I think it's because the main ones that stand out are like fire, lightning, ice, the dragon slayers. But there was some cool stuff. There was like celestial spirits that they summoned, right? And there was cool stuff. Come on, why? We're not gonna put Fairy Tail in D just because we don't like Fairy Tail. Like, just look at the abilities, right? Were the abilities cool? I feel like B is fair. It's not worse that it's what's wrong with the abilities? Salem says as long as it's above 7 convicted pedos, it's fine. I'm gonna keep it in B. I'll keep it in B. Can someone explain why the system is really bad? I feel like there's some cool stuff from what I remember. You know what? I think part of what made it dumb to me was just, yeah, there was stuff like God Slayer, Dragon Slayer, but a lot of it wasn't really explained. Like, what is God Slayer magic? Did they ever fight a god there? Why was Dragon Slayer magic better? I feel like there was a lot that felt very weirdly explained, I guess. And a lot of the power-ups were, I don't know, he's just making his I don't know. The abilities were stale. I would agree that the abilities are stale. Mike Paradise says, I think you're rating the powers instead of the power itself on these, to be honest. I think that that's true, but, like, that's a part of it. I think the things that I'm looking at are interesting concept, right? And we didn't set a great framework because I think a lot of people interpret this question differently, but interesting concept. Then does it have a interesting framework that sets it up for complexity and how it can be used, and does that complexity then play into um, more nuanced battles than you would get? Like, let's say if we take key as the basic thing, right? So what are we looking for that's not key, basically, right? We're looking for, is it a more interesting concept, right, than just blasts and punches, right? Uh, does it lend itself to, like, are there rules that can interact with other rules to basically make for more nuanced fights that involve some level of strategy, creativity, thinking, etc., right? Um, and then are the abilities that come out of it just fun ideas? I think that that makes for a part of it. And ultimately, what you're looking for are, like, are the fights that come out of this system, are they, do we feel like they're creative fights specifically because of the magic system used? Because One Piece has great fights, but I would rarely say, usually that's because of the character writing and drama and emotion that goes into it. Are the fights good um, outside of that? Is there, like, could you just pick apart what's happening over the course of this battle and say, like, okay, this twist is interesting, that twist is interesting, this ability and how this interacts with this other ability is interesting? I think that those are all parts of it. You get what I'm saying? Because ultimately the goal of a good power system is creating really engaging, unique fights, right? That would be engaging and unique, independent of the character writing and drama and emotion surrounding it, right? So, with that regard, I would say that Fairy Tail doesn't really do that often. And I mean, that's part of the reason that I put stands so high, because even though it doesn't have technically like a really complex rule system or whatever, each fight, because stands are so widely um, diverse, right? And each one's its own thing, and they're so outside the box. Each fight has its own rule system, right? So every fight, like all the fights, are for the most part engaging, creative. You get lots of back and forths. You get lots of twists and turns and things like that, and it's all integral to, like, it's all inherent to what the power system is. So based on that, yeah, I don't think Magic and Fairy Tail is that good, but I don't think it's much worse than Quirks, right? Is it worse than Quirks? Fuck it, it's Fairy Tail, we can just put it there. Where do we want to put Fairy Tail? Let's decide this real quick. I'll put it here. Okay, fine. We'll vote. Where do we put Fairy Tail? We kind of just put, like, Attack on Titan in C and didn't really, because it's so hard to compare to other ones. We kind of just didn't really address anything after that. Okay, most people are saying C. We will put it in C. Oh, D's almost in there. D's in. Oh no, but most people think it should be C or higher though, so it can't be D. All right. Even though D technically won with 38%, 62% thought it should be higher than D, so it averages out to C. Okay, we're gonna figure out these last ones out in the next 5 minutes here. All right. Breathing styles I think are solid. To me, this is like a C. I think that there's not that much to breathing styles. Um, I'm not like, I like Demon Slayer, by the way. I think that the Demon Slayer anime is great. I think it's, like, a lot of people call it mid when I watch some Demons, like, I think watching the finale, the final episodes of, like, the finale of the battle of season 2 in Demon Slayer, I don't think an anime has ever had, like, me just watching their jaw on the floor for like 3 episodes straight like that. That's never happened. The production value on Demon Slayer is just insane. Um, I genuinely enjoy watching that. I don't really like the manga at all. I tried reading the manga, it was unreadable. So it turns out a lot of the scene direction, etc., is crucial to my enjoyment of Demon Slayer. But I think Demon Slayer is great. I just don't think that it's really like there's it's literally it's just sword styles that are represented by different elements, but functionally they're all just sword fighting. And I don't think it like all we really get it like some are more based on speed, right? Some seem to be more based on, I guess, aggression, but then some are also kind of really just based on I don't know. I'm putting it in C. I feel like it's C. Jake Cash is carried by animation. I feel like animation is almost like a disservice to it because it's everything. Like it's the full production value. It's the animation, but also the scene direction. Because just animation, like there's a scene towards the end of season 2 that I don't want to spoil, but it's like the main character being confronted by and taunted by the villain, and I thought it was a well done scene in the anime. Went and read the manga, and the scene was like nothing. It's like over in like 2 panels. It's just like very, very generic. But the anime, the direction, the pacing, the atmosphere, it's not just animation, but I would say overall the production that goes into Demon Slayer, yeah, you could say it's carried, but I think it is carried by that because I literally tried to read the manga and I couldn't. Like I tried where season 2 ended, I tried to read the manga afterwards, and it was so lifeless and bad. I went back to the anime. So I would agree that it's carried by its production. But at the end of the day, I think that it's still a really impressive. Like, at the end of the day, if it's captivating to me, and I still kind of remember that sequence of that series of episodes towards the end of season 2 as just the most spectacular, like one of the most spectacular and just engaging anime experiences I've ever had. And like, what does it matter that it's carried by it? Like, we're not comparing manga here, right? We are comparing it for the purposes of the power system, though, and I think that the power system is not that great. JPress P, thanks for the 5. What 3 powers would you like to have? I don't really know. Like, you mean power systems? Or, like, just general powers? If I could have general powers, one would be time control, time manipulation. If you could stop time, move time slower, go back in time, that'd be really cool. I think I would just need that one. I guess number 2 would be immortality. And then number 3 would be, I don't know, something fun like teleporting or something like that. Or flight. Flight would be cool. Alright, we're going to keep it here. Alright, fear. Okay, pyrokinesis. Okay, Fire Force fans only. Do not vote if you're not a Fire Force fan. Where should we put this? Because for me, one of the reasons I kind of want to drop the series is just because I'm just like, I don't know if I want to watch people just use fire as their only ability for like 48 episodes. It just seems, and I get that they have different uses of it, but it feels so similar. Like, I've seen explosions a bunch. I've seen like fire kicks, fire sword, like fire flowers. Is it B? Sure, I'll throw it in B. I believe that it gets better. I just really don't understand why the author decided that he was going to write a series with just fire. That seems really, really, really constrictive. I mean, he's got to have a lot of deep ideas in his bag because I just don't get it. I believe that it's peak showing of fire usage. It better be peak showing of fire usage because that's the only thing the show's fucking about. That's like, fucking obviously. Like, it should be a way better than like Avatar, The Last Airbender in terms of like fire techniques and stuff. The whole fucking show's about fire. My question is, can just fire usage be as entertaining and interesting of a power system as, you know, some of the other stuff that's up higher? Fear. This is from Chainsaw Man. I can't believe that I didn't want to include this earlier. I think I just had to rethink a little bit what am I saying with power systems. I think part of it's just because like so many Chainsaw Man fights just come down to just physical fighting versus one another. But then I remember certain things like, I mean, again, it's not just supposed to be about how good is the fight. The concept of this is one of my favorite concepts. It's a really, 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 really cool concept in terms of a power system. Like, conceptually, if we're just rating it conceptually, I'd throw Fear in SS tier. It's fucking awesome. Because it's the only series where things that don't, I mean, it's not the only series, but things that don't seem, I don't want to spoil anything. Things that in many other series wouldn't be crazy powerful abilities. In this series, like a particular devil that showed up early in Chainsaw Man Part 2, that ability wouldn't be broken in certain other series, but in this series, it makes you a top tier character, right? So stuff like that, I really like that. I don't really know. Like, conceptually, it's really high, but in terms of in practice, is it making fights super interesting or something? I don't know. Does it have a complex rule system that allows for a lot of whatever? No. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put it in B. I think it's a B. I don't think it's S. I mean, I would agree with S in terms of just the concept. The concept is so cool. But I'm gonna keep it B. And then last one, let's pretend this one's Undead Unluck. Where do we want to put it? Undead Unluck, I think, is a really cool power system. I want to put Undead Unluck right here. I think Undead Unluck is really, really great. Fear is from Chainsaw Man. We're saying this one, River of Friend, or Power, I don't know why I said River. Power of Friendship is Undead Unluck. Easy right here. Honestly, depending on how fights keep going and the ways that this ability gets stretched more, I think this could be here. Undead Unluck has a really cool power system. There's one in particular that I'm thinking of later down the line that is really, really interesting. I think it belongs here or here. I think I'm keeping it here just because maybe I need to refresh myself on the series and make sure I'm remembering certain fights as being as cool as they were or creative as they were. But I feel like at the end of the day, I think it should be here by the time all is said and done. Tala, thanks a lot. What is the argument for hockey greater than Ki, Fusion, and whatever greater than? The argument is I don't think these are really good, so I really didn't think about them. That's pretty much it. You want Ki here? Here, let's do a quick poll. We can do hockey versus Ki. I'm gonna put it here. Because it's just, I think it's better than these two. I'm gonna put it here. Hockey versus Ki. I don't care because I don't think either of them are that good. But Ki gets the excuse of not being good in that it was written 40 years ago. It was written a long time ago. And it provides the basis for pretty much everything else on this list. So it gets a pass. Whereas hockey has kind of no reason to not be an improvement. You guys have it at basically 50-50. I'm going to keep them in the same tier. Mr. Crescent says anime kind of botched. Wait, really? They botched the reveal. I won't say it out loud, but I'm surprised. Hockey's getting better, Ki's getting worse. Are you saying like in both anime respectively? I don't care. I think they're whatever. Okay, hockey's winning the poll slightly, but not enough that I would bump it up a tier or move Ki down a tier. All right, time to vote on the best one that you guys think. Me, if I had to pick the best one, I honestly can't pick. I would say that the one, I'm not gonna say that I'm never gonna say Stands is the best power system because it feels disrespectful to like, the intricacies of Nen that Togashi spent so much time putting together, or even what Jujutsu Kaisen just did and the type of fight that it just constructed. But I'm gonna be honest, like Stands lends itself for me, like you can just have and not every stand fight is good. God knows many of them are bad. Many of them are bad. But stands just lend themselves to being able to do just a full series of back-to-back fights, and they're all gonna be somewhat entertaining. Some are great, some are bad, but they're all fine, like at least mildly entertaining because new stand, new ability. So for me, I think I just got a soft spot for stands. I'm never going to argue it's the best because it's not like well constructed or whatever, but It's my personal favorite. So I've got no horse in this game in terms of what you guys vote, because I already think that the one that I like best isn't really the best. It's a fun one because it allows itself to be dumb, and not really have rules. So I'll do the poll while I answer these last couple supers, and then we're gonna call the stream. Best power system. And then I'll do it by name. Hunter, Jujutsu Kaisen, JoJo's stand specifically, Undead Unluck. I put stand specifically for JoJo's so you guys don't think Hamon or something like that. Okay. Obviously you wouldn't. I don't know. I just put it. Brian, thanks for the 20. Attack on Titan low for not being cool blasts. Unique with paths, 13-year limit, how it's passed down, and the specific rules of the system is what makes crazy plot points possible, like choosing Irwin or Arwen. Memory manipulation, B at least. I mean, I think that... okay. I just don't... I put Attack on Titan in a separate category because these are more like battle anime about like fights and stuff like that, usually over friendship and stuff like that. Attack on Titan, yeah, it's a power system. Like, I think the Titans are insanely cool. I think the setup is insanely cool. I think the world of Attack on Titan that we're initially introduced to and these monsters, it's all awesome. It's just I don't think about it in terms of, you know, like when a Titan's fighting another Titan, I just don't think that there's as much of a rule. Like the ability and the concept of the Titans is what's so cool, right? And that's really what makes the series so popular and so such a big draw for so many people. But I don't think, you know, when I'm seeing a Titan fight another Titan, yeah, there's certain things like hardening and stuff like that, but I don't think that it plays that big of a role. It's out of like ultimately coming down to some level of fisticuffs, you know. I'm not trying to knock Titans as it's an amazing concept, but you know, Hunter x Hunter seems to win. Jujutsu Kaisen and JoJo's decently far behind. Undead Unluck, maybe it'll catch up someday. But yeah, I thought people would put Jujutsu Kaisen a little closer. But you know, Hunter x Hunter probably deserves it at the end of the day. Yeah, seems well earned. Decisive landslide victory. John678, thanks a lot. Can we also do one for magical power versus ki? No, I do have to wrap stream. I've gone a little longer than I liked. Remix King, thanks for the 5, and thank you. Everyone say thank you to Remix King before we close for making the other tier list. Hopefully it will be used in some other context, just not this one. If you plan on making other tier lists or just things involving a group of different anime, reach out on Twitter. I wrote a comment on your post. Wrote a comment on my post. Which post? Let's see. Let me make sure I figure this out now before I forget. Oh, okay. Here we go. I found you. All right. I gave you a follow. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the offer. I might hit you if there's something like a little outside the box to try. But obviously, you know, like no obligation whatsoever for you to do it. We could just work with what you already created. But I really appreciate that. Sorry we didn't end up using it. But yeah. Nothing. We did the poll. We did the poll twice. So I'm sorry, man. But thanks anyway. Gonna have to call stream here. Yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. And yeah, Nen voted best power system in manga. Good stuff. Deserved winner. I will talk to you all later.